What if you had 5 minutes to fix, quote unquote, every Overwatch hero in the game? And by fix, I mean just simply change their kit, their design, their balance, whatever, for the better. What would you nerf? What would you buff? What would you just fundamentally rework? Today, we're going to be approaching that very same question as I break down what I would change in 5 minutes about every single Overwatch character. I'm a professional video games coach and amateur game design critic, and we're going to be taking a deep dive into the kit design, balance, and what I think should be changed about the Overwatch game state with each character from the tank, damage, and support category. As a disclaimer, all of these changes are obviously done from my point of bias, which generally likes characters to have a little bit more thoughtful and interesting kits and more ways of expressing skill, not always necessarily complicating their kit, but just giving them more depth. In addition, I'm very sensitive to pain points from an outsider perspective. I know that pain points are never something that we can totally remove in a PvP game, but being sensitive to the things that people really don't like very much about the character, especially if the person also playing the character doesn't really like them that much either. As always, this is just personal opinion, and you may or may not agree with many of these changes, but I hope that you find the discussion for each hero interesting nonetheless. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you'd like to see any of these changes in the patch notes in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So my goal here is to what would a patch look like, maybe a heavy patch, that would provide reasonable changes to all the characters that need it, that would overall improve their design from my bias from a little bit better. We're going to focus on a couple of things. Number one, simpler or fewer fixes. We don't want to go super crazy. We might have to get super crazy with a couple of characters, but the simpler, the easier, the better, okay? Number two, no major reworks, but some minor tweaks to maybe some how abilities work is fine. Not just number changes. We can do some tweaks here and there, but nothing super, super major. Number three, we're going to have to do this within 5 minutes. Finally, you guys are allowed to help me because I always have fun when you guys contribute ideas, and there's legitimately, doing it in 5 minutes is going to be insanely hard. So were you guys going to spitball some ideas, and then what we're going to do at the end for each character, we're going to grade how effective our ideas were, or how good our ideas were. Now, we're going to grade it on a scale of I don't know, 1 through 4, how good, or A through C, or whatever. So I think crucially when we do the grading, we'll do it less along the lines of how good is the character in the end state of our idea, but more along the lines of all things considered, Roadhog is still Roadhog, but we definitely made him feel a lot better. We're gonna give that an A, even though it's still Roadhog, because that was actually really effective, So I came up with this idea a week or two ago, and I wanted to do on stream. And it's been a real challenge to not think of ideas ahead of time. So I've really tried to turn my brain off, don't think, because it's going to be really hard. And I think I'm going to fail miserably in a couple of these characters. But we will see here. Okay, remember the rules, simpler the better. My system is going to be, not just for the sake of the content, but I'm going to try to state what I think that the problems of the character are first, so that we kind of frame what I want solutions for to help guide y'all's ideas. Again, obviously, this is my bias, so I'm the domineering group project guy, and you guys are my little underlings. And perks are fair game. Okay, are we ready, guys? I might just have to stand up for this one, man. I gotta lock in. All right, we ready? Here we go. Starting with D.Va. 3, 2, 1. Okay, D.Va's problems. It's just permanent matrix, lives forever. Her mobility is also relatively limited, which I think is not a bad thing, but I do think that she really struggles in long distance space. But she has a lot of frontline value just with living forever, but the matrix isn't always exclusively useful in a lot of different circumstances, and she's just often too slow. So I feel like the low-hanging fruit, and then also her burst damage can be really swingy as well, right? So I feel like low-hanging fruit here, as I close off my Discord, is I feel like chunking her matrix duration down a little bit has to be the play, but maybe making it somewhat effective versus beam targets. And I also think that she needs to move faster while she's shooting, maybe less of a movement penalty, but then reducing her, maybe even reducing her burst damage. Okay, so let's start with that. Less of a movement penalty while moving. But you have to nerf her burst damage. I think you have to nerf her burst damage. Maybe rockets have a slightly tighter spread, but do less damage overall, so that she doesn't just annihilate people up close. Reduce matrix duration, faster movement while shooting. Reduce rocket damage, but tighten spread or tighten projectile speed. beam reduction, but beam reduction is reduced. We're saying like 25%. I don't think it would be OP because we're already talking about reducing matrix duration by at least half of a second. I think tightening defense matrix size would increase skilling without lowering your tier placement much. Well, that's actually true. Should we tighten? So half a second tighter, half a second shorter matrix with the same regeneration, slightly shrunk matrix, faster movement speed while moving, faster projectile speed on rockets maybe, but lower damage. Activating matrix grants you some percentage damage reduction. Yeah, that's kind of the same idea of like matrix working versus beams. Yeah, we're not looking for perfect here. We're gonna make some mistakes here, but let's just see if we can do. 2 seconds could make DM only work. I don't think we want to increase her armor. I think D.Va has a lot of survivability around not matrix 2. Palm resets if she gets a kill. Okay, so I think it has to be beam reduction. Let's just say 25% for right now. They encourage you to shoot. I think movement penalty needs to be reduced by 10, 15%, something like that. Like movement penalty, but less of a movement penalty. It's the same thing with Rein's shield. She needs to be able to move apart from boosters a little bit more consistently. Tighten the spread, or try to increase the projectile speed of missiles, but reduce the overall damage. Nerf rocket damage and cooldown. Maybe even reduce her headshot damage potentially, but I think nerfing rockets is good enough, like as a start. Maybe we could further, because we're already nerfing her pretty hard. Like a full half a second less of DM is a big deal. Yeah, smaller defense matrix I think is definitely not a bad idea here. They want a more Winston fight D.Va. Well, yeah, like she's too slow. She's just too slow, which often really helps screw up her counters. Like she's not like, so Hazard is a better dive tank than D.Va because he's faster than D.Va in many ways. So he's able to work on his counters more. D.Va doesn't have that. D.Va's too slow. At least in 5v5, she's too slow. Changing 100 armor. Oh yeah, good call. I think the shields, okay, time out. Last thing. Shield systems, which is the health, the shields, matrix restoring shields, should be base kit, and then we should reduce matrix duration even more as a consequence. Base kit. Okay. Yes, that's actually an idea I had like weeks ago, but I forgot. Thank you, Inchworm. I literally forgot about that. I was like, not just the shields, but using the perk. Okay, we'd have to do something else with the perk, but honestly, it's good enough. Okay, so that wasn't bad. Okay, what do you guys think? How would you grade this one? How much does it improve the character? I don't think D.Va needs like a major comprehensive rework necessarily, but I do think that she can be a very challenging tank to balance in 5v5. She just doesn't really work. Okay, let's do a letter grade. Let's do the old American letter grades, F, D, C, B, A. I would say like B. I'd give it a B. I'm not like, I think there's some really interesting ideas here, but I honestly don't know if they would all work. Felt okay. Definitely feels like something worth trying. Can I write the changes in a notepad or something? Yeah, we can do that really fast. Let's do that really fast. Maybe that's a lot. I think that's also gonna be my main penalty for her. She doesn't seem like a character that's that bad, but she did get a lot of little tweaks, so that could definitely pull down her grade a little bit in theory. Yeah, anyway, okay. Are we good? Doomfist. Oh, frick. Dude. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Problems are that he's way too feast and famine off of empowered punch, and that his slam doesn't provide enough consistent value, which means that a lot of his dueling potential is very inconsistent. We need more consistency with his output on dueling for off angles. So it has to start with empowered punch. Empowered punch has to go. The blocking for damage there is fine, but then we need to find a way to make block do something more than just block, right? Because it's on a cooldown. It's not like a resource, so we need something that it needs to do something, but it can't empower punch. It can't empower punch. No uppercut. No, he needs the block. Does it empower punch? For every bit of damage that you block, it reduces your it can reduce your cooldowns for a second, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's a cooldown reduction off of how much damage that you do, but it's not a full reset. So what about just cooldown reduction? What about just cooldown reduction? So that you get something out of it, but there's a hard ceiling for it. Okay, so let's be very clear. We've removed empowered punch. We've given him a little bit of cooldown reduction, but then he needs significant buffs then, because otherwise, I mean, that's a huge nerf. Slam damage has to go up. It has to go up. It's 50 damage, guys. It has to go up. I'm thinking 70. That seems like a pretty significant break point to start with. 70 damage. So 70 damage, remove empowered punch, give cooldown reduction, and then what's the damage of fully charged punch? Maybe we increase the power scaling of charging your punch. 10 to 40, 15 to 60, 25 to 75. So yeah, maybe this scaling could be better, because right now there's not a lot of reason to charge your punch right now. So shift the scaling a little bit more into charging your punch a little bit more. Cooldown reduction on empowered block. Slam does 70 damage. Maybe increases default melee damage. Yeah, I wouldn't mind something that does something with his melee damage just for combos, right? Remove block movement penalty or lower it. Oh, yes. Great call. We need to absolutely reduce the block movement penalty. Power matrix 1-2 needs to be reverted back to what its previous iteration was. Yeah, maybe we could change the shotgun, but honestly, like just removing the movement penalty or significantly reducing the movement penalty. Maybe make block overfill his ammo. Sure. Okay, so remove empowered punch, maybe a small cooldown reduction, or allow block to generate ammo based off of that. But I think you need to be careful about leaning too much into the gun, because like gun is by far the most important aspect of his damage output. But we don't want to go too far. We want to spread it more evenly throughout his kit, which is why we need Slam to go up. His ult, okay, here's his ult. Big thing with his ultimate. His ultimate needs to front load the sustain. I wish I could demonstrate it right now, but I literally don't have time. But the sustain on ultimate is not bad. The problem is that you're basically always encouraged to stay in your ultimate for too long, which really hurts its combo potential. The ultimate needs to front load its sustain like 150 burst instead of just being all the way through. So it's a big burst and then slower sustain. So you can stay in your ult if you need the healing, but you're rewarded more for canceling the ultimate early. Yeah, okay, that's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, so here's what it is. I honestly, it could be good, it could be really bad. I'm gonna give it a C+ or a B-. I'm a lot less confident about some of these ideas. I think Empowered Punch is a huge nerf, but I'm just not sure. I also feel like there's probably some good ideas from Doom maids that could provide some impact here, but I'm not thinking of them. It's a tougher ask for sure. So I think it was a good try. It was a good try, but yeah. What do you guys think? What are y'all's grade? What's y'all's grade for that one? I think your opinion will be pretty swingy. I know a lot of Uppercut fans were in chat, but I've kind of talked about that at length today. I can't really address why I'm skipping certain things as in detail, because this is just obviously a timed thing, but it's really important that we don't have Uppercut. C+, B+. Overtuned AoE value? Well, a lot of that's through Empowered Punch. A lot of that is through Empowered Punch. Although you're right, we did miss the opportunity to talk about AoE Punch. We could have talked about reducing Punch's AoE hitbox. I'll add that bonus. Anything that's bonus is something that we missed. We forgot. AoE Punch hitbox, I think is a low-hanging fruit there. Okay, are we ready for Hazard? Oh, frick. Oh, okay. 3, 2, 1. Tab over, start. So I don't think Hazard has too many problems right now. I think this one will be one of the easier ones that we've done, and maybe we can even end this one early. I think it's mostly just, is the block slop dealt with this whole headshot change, right? Is the block slop dealt with, right? So when you have a mobile tank, you need the capability of providing like a lot of utility. I think wall as a concept is really, really good at cooldown. It allows him to spread out a lot of his value. I just don't think that there's a lot of... It feels right now that block feels... Oh man, it's so tough though, because I don't think his burst damage is bad. I think it's fine as is, but I think you have to be really careful about nerfing his blocking. Is he honestly fine right now for the most part? Is there anything you could do to improve it? Because obviously this is not as much about balance, but I do think that like Hazard is very carefully balanced right now to where he's like a mid-tank right now. Yeah, Lifesteal perk definitely needs to be replaced. That's true. But we kind of already did that in our perk fixes, which is just talking about like a wall grab, so you can hold the wall there. So maybe wall grab with a perk. All right, what do we got here? Jagger Wall no longer damage poops after a brief duration when deployed. Manually breaking wall will deal damage knockback in an AoE, significantly reduce block up time, drastically increase its percentage damage reduction. Dealing damage to Hazard during block will damage the inflictor. Interesting idea. I think significantly increasing its damage reduction and reducing its uptime does just mean more downtime, that's kind of like that's Hazard's big dive tank niche is his uptime. He has a lot of uptime between cycles. So I think I'd be careful about removing that niche entirely, but I don't think I would want to necessarily put in Deep Leap as like base kit either, because it already, like, I think his mobility is already good for a dive tank. I think like when we talked about D.Va, I think her mobility is too limited. I think Hazard is fine as is, I think. I do like the concept of detonating your wall, but it needs to be a very small amount of damage. Because that could be like an additional thing to think about. Maybe a small detonation boop, small amount of damage, very small amount of damage. Because to be honest with you, it doesn't really increase his burst. Because if you're getting hit by wall, and then you can detonate it afterwards, like, you're stupid for standing near it for that long afterwards. But I don't think we need anything major here. You like detonation as a perk, not a base kit? Okay, fair. Then that's fair. Let's replace Anarchic Zeal with a detonation wall, which after the first second of detonation or application, you can do it again to do a bit of damage and a bit of a knockback. Because, yeah, it's probably not needed base kit. That's fair. What do you guys think about reducing his block resource meter, but increasing the damage reduction slightly? So I wouldn't say a lot, but like finding a slightly more of a balance, right? So slightly 5-10% more damage reduction, because you can crit him now, right? So you can crit him. Less penalty on block, maybe. I mean, we keep coming back to that. Yeah, I think we're mostly just trying to find things to fix. I feel like a standing army. We don't know what to do with Hazard, so we just like start changing things that may not need serious changing. These will be more ideas. I do like the idea of having a detonation on the wall, on the perk, because that other perk sucks. As long as it's done tastefully. Yeah. Maybe some adjustments to the block, but I'm not going to do much more than that, I think. Okay. Thoughts? I mean, I don't know, like, do we even grade this one? There wasn't really much needed to be changed, right? There's just nothing really to be changed. So, F, D-. I mean, but okay, like, that's okay, see, you guys are thinking, but what more was needed to be changed? You guys are, you can't, if the character's in a fine state, it's a fine change. We're grading based off of how good were our ideas. I mean, there wasn't really a lot to fix here, you know? I would say like a B or a B+. I think we had some interesting ideas, some things that are worth spitballing. Just because it was less fancy doesn't mean it wasn't worth it. I mean, you know what? I think we get a high grade from how much restraint that we showed from not being, you know? It was impressive. All right, Junkerqueen, 3, 2, 1, go. Yep, I actually agree with this Twitch chatter here. Willy minor perk, make it accessible earlier. I think it's a pretty good, gives her some more range options, which is really important for this character as a perk option. And then giving her like the budget April Fools for a tiny bit of limited verticality, like literally like an elevator, would be as a major perk option, or as a transformative earlier on is probably pretty fine. But limited changes here for sure. So like if for performance versus other tanks, here's my thing with Queen and why I don't want to do anything dangerous is because I think like Willy is really helpful in some bad matchups, more so than I think people think. And giving her like a little bit of an April Fool's thing could help a lot in other situations just a little bit too. But honestly, like the whole point of this is that we don't want to start changing things for the sake of changing things if the problems with Queen are other characters' problems. You know what I'm saying? They're not Queen. Queen's fine, you know? Maybe the only thing I would say here, and you're going to notice a consistent theme here, is I really don't like Rampant Charge, gain Unstoppable and reduce all cooldowns by 6 seconds when using Rampage, because I think that should be base kit. I think the concept of that a cleanse can deny your entire ultimate is really cancer, and that you should use your ultimate for at least a cooldown reduction. If it gets entirely cleansed, okay, at least you get your cooldown reduction, right? But then that would be too strong, so you'd have to nerf other things. That's fine. Maybe we nerf like the amount of DOT it does, or how long the anti lasts, or something like that. But it's not just Suzu either. Like, right? But then do we really want to nerf it just because of one thing? I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I would consider giving her ultimate some form of cooldown reduction as a base kit. I would consider helping Willy Willy's position as a miner move around, maybe some verticality, but that's it. I think that's it. I think any other bad matchup is just more of either a skill check or just cancer hero design on the opposite side of the field. Make the ult faster startup? I don't think so. I kind of like the fact that it's like you get some opportunities to counterplay, and you also get opportunities for the queen to change her angle as well. You know what I'm saying? So maybe a minor cooldown reduction with her ultimate to open up more options. Maybe moving Willy Willy earlier in the thing so you have access to that sooner in more situations. And then maybe consider, but honestly, I honestly don't even know how I feel about verticality, to be honest. Carnage Leap could be cool though. Carnage Leap is a good idea as a perk. I actually like that a lot because that helps the consistency of that cooldown, and especially versus, I missed it, guys. I missed it. If I missed it, I'm sorry. Yeah, Carnage Leap, Willy Willy sooner, maybe some cooldown reduction on her ult, but a slightly reduced purple. Yeah, okay. I don't know, like the difference between her and Orisa is I feel like she has more utility with impacting the fight around her. And she has ways of pulling people towards her, which is effective mobility, you know? So I don't know that she needs it in the same way that Orisa needs Javelin or Helicopter, if that makes sense. Like she has some horizontal mobility, she has ways of pulling people towards her, and even her ultimate has ways of moving drastically. And then if we give her Carnage Leap, I mean, not everything needs a freaking jump, you know? Okay, guys, thoughts? Again, keeping in mind that this character really didn't need too much, what would you grade it? It's like a B plus. Seems some interesting ideas, but very, very limited changes because she's already an S character. I mean, I don't know. We're talking more about perks and awkward matchups. Okay. Timer, you guys ready for Big Daddy? All right, Mauga time. Mauga. 3, 2, 1. Okay, problems with Mauga is that he's still too front-loaded in his sustain, either your feast or Fevit. Now, the things that have made Mauga better is he's more reliant off of hitting slams. He's more rewarded for setting people on fire from range. And he's more rewarded for his mobility, essentially. I don't know. I think, okay, my goal with Mauga has always been, can we give more of his sustain into not just standing there and shooting like this? Okay, am I crazy, guys? What if Overrun regenerated HP and you reduced his sustain on crits? Like, I think the thing you're gonna have to start with Mauga is you just have to reduce the sustain on crits. You just have to reduce the sustain on crits. You just have to. You just have to. His ability to sustain himself through this has to be nerfed. I don't think it has to be removed. It just has to be reduced significantly. And then we gotta spread his sustain throughout the rest of his kit. I think Cardiac is probably mostly fine as is, but we can talk more about that. I have an idea for Cardiac later. But I think whether it's with like giving him the ability to generate 50 HP every time that he uses his run, I think the whole concept of like being able to set people on fire needs to be rewarded more, like using your guns interchangeably. Maybe Overrun gives a burst of overhealth. Well, then overhealth would just yeah, so maybe his gun sustain is weaker, but he's able to get Overrun sustain. And I think, what about like just more overhealth? Just more overhealth. You run, you get a little bit of overhealth. You pop Cardiac, you get a little bit of overhealth. And then you set people on fire from range, you get a little overhealth. But you just can't sustain through just burning. Also, I'm gonna be that guy. I think this guy's hitbox has to be shrunk. He just does. He's freaking massive. There's no reason for him to be as big as he is. Reduce his size by 5-10%. It's just insane. We've already seen that they could do it. Reduce his size by a little bit. Popping overhealth from popping E, isn't that just another queen shout? Well, but he doesn't get the movement speed. He just gets a damage reduction. I think damage reduction from Cardiac is fine. Okay, so let me explain to you what my thoughts are with Cardiac. I think maybe keeping the damage reduction, over health, whatever. But one thing that needs to be done is I think Cardiac needs to set nearby targets on fire.
Then maybe give it over health per target hit and better over health on the Creed.
Oh yeah. So like, what if you hit the target? And it's like Doomfist. If you hit a little bit overhealth on pop, but hitting a target with slam grants a small amount of overhealth. And then Cardiac sets people on fire around you. Now, we might have to tweak how much damage that fire does, because that would definitely buff burst damage, so you'd have to be careful. But smaller hitbox, Cardiac sets people on fire around you. Overhealth on pressing slam, small amount. Overhealth on hitting slam, small amount. And then significantly reduce his sustain, but it's still something that you can do. But I do think we have to like lean into some form of sustain, because otherwise what Winter Duck says is definitely true. It basically becomes like a Roadhog budget where he requires you to hit the slam to do anything. You have to be really careful not to go, oh, let's kill his sustain, let's lean into burst, right? Yeah, maybe Cardiac just like regenerates 50 overhealth during its duration even, instead of just the immediate burst overhealth. Overdrive giving burn, yeah. Yeah, you strongly disagree with Cardiac setting people on fire around you? Okay. We play tested that a while ago. It was really fun, but it was pretty aggressive. Some perk kill would be good too. We may not have time. I agree, but we may not have time. I don't think his perks are terrible. I don't think his overrun cooldown is too low. Okay. Here's what we got. This is an improvement. Even if we do nothing but smaller hitbox, reduce sustain of weapon play, give overhealth and overrun, and then give like Cardiac a 50 AHOT that lasts for the duration, so to give him sustain. Oh, I like the removing, oh frick. Okay, bonus. Remove movement penalty when firing one weapon. Amazing idea. Who said that? Aldis 501. That's a great idea. That actually helps the exact problem that we were talking about with using your weapons, right? Like interchangeably. That's the whole hero fantasy. It's like setting people on fire and then burning them down. But that makes you so much worse when you're like, look at the side of my screen. You see it move down? I see I slow down a little bit. They should just remove that penalty and only comes in when you're firing both. You see it? It should just be gone. You should be able to fully strafe whatever, do this kind of thing at range. Why not? If I can't, okay. If we cheat and include the bonus, I think this is like a B+. There's definitely some options here. But I think if we don't include the movement thing, I think it's more like a B. I think these are some good ideas. I think these are some good ideas. These characters are hard because the problems are that, like, I'm not trying to call it, people are like, oh gosh, I can't imagine a Mauga that's more mobile. Yeah, but like, he's also going to be like able to sustain himself less. And like, it's the same thing when we like, oh, you're just going to give Doomfist more slam damage? Well, yeah, but like, think about what we're taking away. Like, oh, Diva's going to move even faster? No. Like, there has to be give and take here, guys. Like, that's the whole point. So like, if you're worried, you're like, oh no, a more mobile Mauga. Well, yeah, but also a less tanky Mauga in theory, you know? Okay, Orisa time. Okay, let's get our, okay, unmovable block of granite. Cooldown trading is frustrating. The range value of this character is vastly overrated by the lower and mid rank and even high rank community. Just gets her face blown off and can get off-angled until the cows come home. Ladies and gentlemen, I want Javelin Spin to be a helicopter! Let Orisa fly on a short range. The dude is so good because it is a very, very important dueling tool and is a very important damage mitigating tool. It's perfect. It's a mobility tool that is actually really important for other purposes, and so it's actually really important to know when and how to use it correctly. She needs it. She needs it. Frick off. Now, we're going to have to do some other stuff as well. I think that we need to look at like the damage reduction that Fortify provides and probably lean more, and it probably needs to be a lower cooldown. Well, I don't know about a lower cooldown, but a shorter duration, whatever else. Okay, here's the spirit of my Orisa changes. Give her the flight through Javelin Spin, so you have to, cost, benefit, whatever, decide, okay? Second thing, we have to lean into the overheat mechanic of the gun. This isn't just a balance thing. This is just making the character interesting to play. They have this entire overheat mechanic that's just not leveraged. My original idea years ago, I'm gonna bring it back now, is that the hotter your weapon, the more damage it does, but the more bigger the spread. The cooler your weapon, the lower the damage, but the tighter the spread. You understand what I'm saying? And then Fortify, as a mechanic that manages that heat, locks it in at the temperature that it's at, or has some cooldown reduction or whatever else. So you actually are questioning whether you should Fortify early for more precise, accurate range damage. And because you can actually take space with your Javelin Spin while you're between Fortify cycles, you can actually do things. There actually would be, you'd melt tanks, yes, but because you're actually punishable here. So we're gonna have to cook into like, what do we want Fortify to be? I think Orisa needs windows of vulnerability. And right now she has too much mitigation with too little impact to be able to move around the fight. So what I'm thinking of is we'd have to think about how Fortify is done. I like the overhealth. I like the current movement speed that she has, but you have to probably reduce the ceiling of damage reduction that she has. When you give a character mobility, you immediately have given them mitigation. So Fortify, what is Fortify damage reduction right now? 45% damage taken. I think you could reduce that to 40%. I think you can reduce it more. And I honestly think that we need to remove the Fortify movement penalty. I understand why they did it from a balance perspective, but from a design perspective, it completely removes all nuance of how you use Fortify. It's terrible. The whole gun overheat mechanic needs to be leaned way into. There needs to be actual, not just as in like a, don't let your gun overheat, but sure, let it overheat. What if you freaking overheat your weapon and it goes poof, and there's like a small detonation around you and you can't shoot for a while, but there's like, I don't know, it overheats something. Maybe you overheat your weapon and it overheats your, I don't know, like overheats your javelin, but like if you stay, I don't know. There's like, there's ideas here. We only have 5 minutes, but since armor makes both 40 and 45 into 50%. Yeah, whatever the mitigation cap needs to be with armor plus Fortify, we can kind of cross that road. But yeah, leaning Fortify, not just taking away Fortify's damage reduction, but then giving it a purpose elsewhere, so there's actually more reasons to use it at range. I don't know about giving Orisa base movement speed, because if she gets into position really fast and then just locks it down with Fortify, even if we nerf the damage reduction, that might be too much. The whole point is that we can kind of use the Fortify at range and continue. It's the same way I like removing the movement penalty from Mauga when he's firing with one gun. Yeah, the ult is cringe. I don't think we have time to fix it, though. Okay, grading. What do you guys think? I mean, this is something that I've thought about before, so I kind of came in with a couple of ideas. So I've always felt like this would be a really fun Orisa. I actually had a workshop code. One of my viewers created the Javelin Spin Fly, and it was really fun to play with. I think that this is like absolutely something that's really, I'm going to give myself an A on this one, because this is something that, it's not just like, oh, it's got to fix the character, but it's like, dude, this would be so much fun to try out. Be so much fun to try out. And and the thing is when you introduce gun heat as a balanceable mechanic that actually matters, you've actually opened the doors for different things that you can balance on this character. There's so many changes that you can make to this character if she was OP or underpowered as soon as you introduce gun heat into the game. All of a sudden there's like a million different knobs that you can tweak to balance the character. I just think like right now she's an unbalanceable character right now in her current state.
At any cost.
Oh gosh. Whee! Okay. All right. Are you ready for this one? Are you ready for this one? Now I'm gonna give a disclaimer for this one. I'm gonna forget when we did some perk fixes back in when perks were first released. One of my viewers came up with a really good perk idea for this guy that I just wanted in the base kit. I'm gonna reference it, but I can't remember the details of it. So yeah, here we go. 3, 2, 1. He's just not a temp. He's just, there's no, the whole point of Ram is I want a character that wants to change forms. In, out, and whoop-ah, and whoop-ah, right? And basically a lot of Ramattra is like once you've picked a form, you stick with it, you use your cooldowns, you do your thing, and then you use this. And you never cancel. You stay all the way until it's done. It's like the equivalent of like, you know what it is? It's Black Panther from Marvel Rivals. It's a combo-oriented character that's not a combo-oriented character. There are long periods of downtime. His mitigation is slop. He's just survivability. It's not a combo character. This is a combo character with 2 different forms. That's freaking cool. Freaking love that. And I actually think there's a lot of things we can do this. Okay, let me cook, okay? Shield has to be like 500 HP, has to be on like an 8-second cooldown, 7-second cooldown. Just one shield, it's fine, but it has to be breakable and it has to be in a reasonable cooldown that allows you to make more decisions mid-fight and rewards you for coming in and out of form more often. It has to be breakable and it has to come up more often. Vortex, I think, is fine as is. We'll talk. I'm not saying it's fine as is perfectly, but we'll cross that road more when we get there. It's better than it used to be, okay? This is the crux of the issue, okay? I think Nemesis form needs to be a resource. Before you're like, oh, block is a resource. I didn't say block is a resource. I think Nemesis form needs to be a resource that you regenerate and that you're allowed to go in and out of Nemesis form as need be, while also having lower cooldowns on your Omnic form so that you have things to do in and out, okay? Along those lines, I think block has to have a damage threshold. I think we talked about the dangers of doing that with blocks as a whole, but there either needs to be a duration on it or a way to break it. You just cannot, you can't do it. Now, I know that this is a huge nerf to the character. However, I think a lower cooldown on shield and having Nemesis as a resource is a huge buff to the character. It is a huge buff to the character. I am convinced of it. I think having more frequent mitigation off of your shield, being able to play CC, and then being able to go in and out, and then going right back, and then, okay, going right back in again. Like, dude, that's really strong for situations when you need more frontline pressure and when you want more range pressure as well. I actually think this could be do a lot, and I think you could probably make a good argument with Vortex as well, but I'm less convinced. I think Vortex maybe does a lot already, and maybe its cooldown's pretty much justified, but Shield, way too long to Unbreakable. I don't have a solution for his Annihilation, unless you guys have an easy fix. But the one thing you have to do is you have to make it that his HP refresh on going on to, because this is a legitimate criticism, the HP refresh from going into Nemesis form has to be scaled off of how much resource that he's generated by not using the form. AKA, if you swap from Nemesis into Omnic into Nemesis and you generate a lot of HP and you swap out, you've spent that resource and you only get a percentage of it back if you go back in. And you would still need a cooldown. Like, you need a cooldown from going back and forth, probably 2 or 3 seconds, something like that. But something that's way lower than what it is. What is it right now? It's 8 seconds, right? So it needs to be way lower than that, and it needs to be on a resource. Form swap should be permanent. It should not be a perk. Exactly. That was a perk suggestion, but I think it needs to be permanent. And then your HP restoration off of going off of Nemesis, your refresh, should be scaled based off of how much resource. There's going to need to be some tweaking and experimenting with how that works. But yeah, you'll have to cross that when we get there. But lower cooldown on shield. I think also as well, I wouldn't mind having slightly lower damage with his Omnic form as well, but slightly faster projectile speed. I think it's just really freaking hard to do damage at range, which is not a bad thing. I think you have to be careful with poke tanks, but I wouldn't mind a little bit faster projectile speed with, I mean, how much damage does it do right now? 5 damage, just 4. 20% less damage, right? 20% less damage, but just make it a little bit more consistent because it does do an unbelievable amount of damage up close, but yeah. But honestly, that I'm up in the air with that one. I could just be wrong for that one. But yeah, block as a resource has to be solved. Like, as a resource that has to be expired, and you're less reliant off of it because you can go back and just do actual range pressure from shields. And then you can go right back in and do it again. So as a HP, refresh, and block resource needs to be something that can regenerate, but it's not permanent. Okay, what do you guys think? But I'm really trying to lean into the hero fantasy with this stuff, because I actually think the hero fantasy is super cool. That's why I'm so toxic towards Ram, is because it's bitterness. I love Ram's character. I want to play him. I want to like playing him a lot. It's a little bit like the Orisa rework, which I think had immense potential and it just was squandered. So I actually am a big Ram fan and a big Ram enemy, in the same fashion, if that makes any sense. Okay, thoughts on the scoring? C for Clinker. AAC. Nice. Thank you. Okay, good. But like I said, I've had more time to cook with this one, so this is something that we've thought about before, so it felt a little easier. Some of these other ones have been harder. Okay. You guys ready? Honor and glory. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I think Ryan is mostly fine. I think Ryan kind of falls into the Junkerqueen category where he's a victim of other really toxic brawl tanks. I think there's some small adjustments with him. I think Ryan's biggest strength is his horizontal straight line mobility. But I do think that we have to be really careful with what we do with Reinhardt. I don't want to consider balance too much, but I think too much of his design leans way too much into the shield. I think he has way too much shield HP, and that's what allows him to be very difficult to balance because there's way too much value in lower ranks and not enough value in higher ranks because the things like mobility that are very important and higher ranks are just not as strong. So first things first. Give me the actually, you know what? Screw it. Custa, I don't want the faster shielding, the HOT unshielding anymore. Yeah, I don't want that as a perk. Give it to the base kit! Base kit! I want to move, and I want the healing when I'm shielding. Reward me for managing my health well. Reward me for moving around the map well, okay? Now, let me kind of keep cooking, okay? Let me keep cooking. All right, I think they need to reduce his shield HP by probably 300. I think 300. I think you could probably even go all the way down to 1,000. Now keep in mind, all of this is happening within the other brawl tanks' health being a little bit better. Like Ryan can trade with those tanks more effectively. Okay, I'm open to ideas here. I think maybe having a little bit more frontline presence could be useful, but I'm not honestly too sure. Decrease shield health, but increase shield movement speed, maybe. I mean, they've done that already, and it's been good, but yeah, they could probably do it even more. What's his movement speed on shielding penalty? 30%. They could probably reduce it to 20%. Why not? Whatever. Shield bash should be in base kit. It does really help in a lot, yeah. Ryan does not need vertical mobility. Ryan does not need vertical mobility. Fire strike 125. I mean, yeah, I guess. What can we? Okay, here's a. Oh, frick! I had an idea. The other day, and I forgot. The idea was to make fire strike actually somewhat lethal versus tanks. Like it actually matters in tank trades. Shoot! What was it? But it wasn't gonna affect squishies too much. No. Percentage damage? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That wasn't the idea, but that's a good idea. Or maybe. I had a good idea, but I forgot to write it down. Oh no, David Lynch. I wouldn't mind a partial percentage damage off of Fire Strike. I feel like that's his skill shot, you know? And I think its projectile speed is pretty good right now. I don't know that I'd increase it more. It feels more consistent than it was before. But I think having it being a relatively prediction-based projectile is fine. Maybe increases the damage in the next swing. Yeah, maybe that. Maybe hitting a Fire Strike. Okay, so you know how it's like you gain 25 increased attack speed? Maybe I don't want to say base kit everything though. Oh, that's it, Turtle! And it ignores a percentage of armor. That was it. Yes, that's the one. That's the one right there. That's the one. It ignores armor entirely. Or I mean, because it's only a small damage increase. But I think it was something along those lines. Or it ignores a percentage of damage reduction. So Fire Strike ignores a percentage of damage reduction, or it just ignores armor entirely, which is not that big of a buff, but okay, whatever. Chop down his shield to 1200, 1100, or 1000. And then he gets the whole hell thing on shielding. I think pin is fine as is. Yeah, it's only 7 damage, right. So, but doing percentage damage or ignoring armor entirely for I mean, I don't know. Yeah, the only problem with burning effect is I don't want it to be like, I want Ryan to have a slightly better matchup on frontline, but honestly, maybe ignoring armor is good enough, or a small burning effect. But see, the problem with the burning effect is it's going to disproportionately affect squishies with the smaller health pools. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to have to cook with this one, honestly. I don't know if we want Bloodlust with Ryan. I actually don't care. I know people talk about that, but maybe like movement speed if he hits, but yeah. Maybe movement speed with like Fire Strike is another direction you could go with it, but I think movement speed with Fire Strike would be the one to consider. Shield Bash on melee, fine. Bonus, Shield Bash on melee. Thoughts? Grading? Give Ryan 2 charges of Earth Shatter? I think B. Nothing super spectacular, and honestly some undercooked ideas. Like just saying, oh, well, I need to kind of think about and figure it out. I mean, that's true, but there's too many things that need to be experimented with. We've given a spiritual direction, but our actual concrete ideas were definitely a little undercooked in some aspects, so. Okay. Oh, man, dude. Oh. 3, 2, 1.
Apocalypse ain't over.
Roadhog hook gets 2 modes, kinda like Moira orb. After it locks on, you can either left click and pull the target in, or you can right click and the target will be pulled across, towards your cursor. ZZZZZZ. Me 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 me. ZZZZZZ. Me 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 me. Like, Roadhog should lean into attacking your positioning rather than doing the one-shot. Also, make his hitbox smaller and maybe give him some overhealth in lieu of weaker healing while vaping to mitigate the ult farming aspect. Spillo taking a breather IRL. Man has become hot.
Okay.
Is he
I think it
still
starts
alive?
with you need some sort of mobility, short, tight, quick, limited mobility cooldown that can be correlated as a combo tool. So it belly bap, so you can use it to combo, or you can use it to disengage or engage. I think that needs to be correlated with a reduction in Hook's range. It needs to be, to get your one shot, you have to burn basically all your CDs, but your CD has to have more than one purpose. I think he needs to have armor, he needs to have less vape, and his alt fire needs to not explode after a certain range. It needs to always do damage, but just less so. I think Hog is a complete mixed bag. What we talked about that the whole Hog project. You guys remember that? The biggest thing that Hog needs is consistency of output. He's way too feast or famine, and he cannot exist. You cannot balance him around a Hook one shot. You need to be more consistent so that we can pull his attention away from Hook one shot. That starts with the combo potential that they intended with Trap being tied to a cooldown that actually can do something other than combo with Hook, right? Trap was just inherently flawed as a result because it only was good for Hook. It just was more gimmicks. They completely missed the mark, which is why let's just say the belly bop, right? The belly bash, the chest bash, the body slam, whatever else. That is your mobility cooldown that is utilized if you want to for combos. It may or may not be able to kill someone with one shot. Hang on, Brax. But alternatively, it can reach from, like, let's say from here, like seriously, like Hanzo lunge distance. That's literally the type of mobility that we're talking about, right? And then you can use that for combo, but it puts you more at risk. Or you can use that to fish for a hook to push somebody out, and then if things don't go, then bash out. The other thing, like I said, with the alt fire, I like alt fire for neutral pressure, but I don't like its identity where it needs a certain range to do damage. You see that? That needs to not happen. That's why it's so RNG. Is it's good to have Hog to have a relatively ranged option, but the ranged option dramatically changes based off of whether you get the damage or distance right. So, like, I mean, I don't even remember exactly. Yeah, right there. I mean, look at that. But if I move closer, I believe this should be off. Nope, that's still the right distance. Yeah, like that's insane. That's so freaking RNG, right? And don't say, oh, skill shot. No. The character can't function with a sort of consistent. It needs to be consistent damage output, but lower than primary fire, but it gives you a ranged option. Like I said, the body slam allows you to take more off angles more consistently. Yeah, it's a rough one. It's a rough one. I'm not gonna even ask for a grade. I don't give a frick. The hog is hog. All right, Sigma. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1. Does he need anything? Like straight up, does Sigma need anything? Maybe moving his major perks to minors and then maybe adjusting the strength, but that's more of a perk criticism of like when transform perks. That's a global problem with Overwatch, not a... I don't think he needs a thing. Yeah, so we're gonna skip perks because I think perks are, for all the perks are pretty fine, I think, for the most part. Just the placement, and yeah. I think it's like the definitive perfect non-mobility tank. It's really resource trade focused. I still think that kinetic cycle is a little too strong. I don't think it's better than... I remember we tested hyper regeneration, and it's okay, but I think it's a bit overrated, but I'm not honestly sure. Give him rock for rollouts? Wouldn't that be funny? Wait, can you... Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea, A. Jackson. What if using rock for a bit of verticality would be cool for like rollouts or just like a little... Because you used to be able to do that more often. It's just like really hard to do. You know, maybe there's something there, I guess, but make his feet bigger. I don't know about levitation base kit. Like I said, if anything, it'd just be minor perk. Because he'd be it'd be a pretty big buff if he had it as part of his base kit. Like straight up, that would be a massive buff. And honestly, even moving it to minor is a pretty massive buff as well. So just more knockback with a rock so that maybe he can take certain high grounds. But yeah, it should be like Zarya alt fire where like you couldn't take this high ground, but you could take like this height. You know what I'm saying? I think that limitation's fine because otherwise it'd be broken. That's it. I'm right. That's it. Bam. Guys, what was my grade for that one? Thoughts? How good was our fix there? A. Jackson's amazing rock fix, completely gonna change Sigma forever. I mean, that's an S tier right there. Perfect, incredible work. And brilliant Twitch chat, just brilliant. I mean, Sig is a great example of like proof that not everything needs mobility, you know? At least that level of mobility. I understand. He has good range, which helps out his lack of mobility. And his cooldown, economic trading. He's like the economic tank. I've talked about that a lot recently, about like, and I think it's cool. All right, Winston, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1. Almost Sigma level. I actually think almost fine. The only thing I would look at is perks. I don't think I'd change anything about Winston except for perks. Right? I actually think his major perks are pretty good. Is heavy landing too bursty? Is barrier toss too niche and too strong versus those niches versus crowd control? Because you get the cooldown faster. Bubble cooldown starts the second that you place it, so that doesn't really matter. Buff leap speed and distance versus slightly. I don't think so. I think he's really fast. I think you're vastly. I think people underestimate how fast Winston is because they underestimate how far he goes. Like this is freaking really fast. That's really fast. That's like Hazard post minor. I don't know the exact speed. Maybe it's even faster. But I think that's like Hazard minor buff with deep leap buff speed. Yeah, it has to be like minor perks, right? How about this? Check it out. What if melee did bonus damage versus armor? Would that be broken? That would be broken versus Brig, no? Maybe. I don't give a frick. What if you did like an extra 10 damage versus armor? Like you 50 damage melee and ignored armor. You don't want that? Oh. Well, I mean, I'm trying, like, cause for tank matchups, for tank trades, so it doesn't mean that you're good at tank trading, but if you do, it gives you something to do. It's a gross squash. Yeah, but how many squishies have armor? Brig? His gun already ignores armor? That's true. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, fine. More deployables base kit for sure. I don't know why we lost that perk. I think it's just because it was boring and it wasn't very strong. Is there anything, guys? Like, what we complained about perks, but it's... I'm not saying it's not possible, but in 5 minutes, can we come up with a perk idea? Oh! Wait, somebody suggested this a while ago. What if you got a minor perk that gave armor to your bubble versus certain matchups? You know how they change armor calculations to help out armored characters versus like Bastion and stuff? I mean, come on, it could be good in certain matchups. It's just an idea, guys. Might be a bit OP. Yeah. I mean, maybe, but what if it was reduced HP on your bubble? So it was like an opportunity cost thing. I don't know. I know it sounds stupid, but I want to see it played out in practice. Because his bubble just explodes in certain situations. And if we could reduce those outliers by a little bit, you know? The passive is invisible anyways, that's true. All right, listen, I'm writing it down. I don't give a frick. We don't have to, we could just try it. I don't give a frick. Frick you guys, I want to try it. 550 bubble with 100 armor. Takes a Bastion a full half a second, 3/4 of a second longer to break it. I want to try it. All right, I don't think we grade. Okay, yeah, we grade that. Fine. Armor and bubble. Okay, this will be funny. Armor and bubble grade for an experiment. That's all we're grading. F, S tier. Let's go. F, frick. Dang it, man, you guys, so mean. Super F. Aw, come on, guys. Oh, well. C for crap. I hate you guys. All right, let's go ahead and reset our timer. Wrecking ball here. Okay, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. I think he's honestly mostly fine. They did a good job reducing his HP recently. I actually think that Hammond is like in a way better spot. I think most of my criticisms are probably due to with his perks probably need to be nerfed in certain situations. Maybe some quality of life stuff. I think like adaptive barrier needs to not last so long. I think like a full second is more than enough for a quote unquote parry, right? And then if you're like, well, then hang time is going to be 100% picked again. Yeah, I think his hang time is probably too strong too. Reduce it to dealing 50% more damage to 40% more damage or 30% more damage. I think Steamroller could be nerfed a tiny bit. I think Pack Rat could be nerfed a tiny bit. Like I think now that he's actually a little bit more punishable, I think you would need to nerf a little bit of his perks and then leave as is. No, need more incentive to shoot? I don't think so. I think shooting is like already pretty good with this character. And to be honest with you, I think I don't want to. It's like the Doomfist problem with giving him too much focus on his weapon. It's like he's not supposed to use his weapon.
Give him a passive that accrues resistance to slows the longer he's slowed in roll. The fact that May can just completely say no fireball ever again with primary fire, for example, is kinda cringe.
Yeah, isn't there a bug there where like May can like tap primary fire on you? There's something like with the coding with how slows are affected on ball where they like immediately, I don't know the exact, we tested this a while ago, I don't remember, but there is some interactions that are really frustrating for him. Does anyone remember? Oh, like letting him stay in ball form if he's CC'd? Yeah, maybe that's the one. Yeah, so let him stay in ball form if CC'd, especially versus not hard knockdowns. Like, oh, remember, we tested it, super inconsistent with what knocks him out of ball form and what doesn't. Nerf his perks across the board, basically. Yeah, it might not be still in game, so that's just an honestly, might not be a thing again. Where's the counterplay then? I mean, the counterplay is that you stop the ball from doing what he wants to do and then you shot him. I think the thing with ball that people are like freaking out, like, how do you punish him? If we kept him in ball form when he's CC'd, you ready for the crazy thing? You remove another 25 HP. I don't think you take any more armor away. I think his armor is fine. Shields are fine. Just remove HP. Like, the thing is, the more consistent that you make ball versus CC to where, like, he doesn't get completely destroyed by crowd control, which I think is better nowadays, just remove more HP. I actually think this character is, like, pretty easy to balance from that perspective. You know? Because if you give him more effective survivability where it's harder to crit him, okay, fine, remove more HP. That's it. Any slow 25% or above stops fireball. May slow 30%, last minimum 1.3 seconds. Okay, good to know. So we need more consistency with how CC affects this guy, whether it's with breaking fireball, whether it's pulling him out of... there's a lot of inconsistency with what pulls him out of ball form or not. And then you just basically need to nerf his perks across the board. And then like body blocking and stuff like that. Yeah. It's for rollouts, Jambo. It's for rollouts. They could probably change that too, but yeah. Because back in the day, you could just swap ball from spawn and be back in the fight instantly. And I think Kiriko still has that capability, but its ball was even more broken. Overhealth on E lasts? It does last a long time. Yeah, I mean, you could reduce the duration that it lasts, and then for sure. I'm talking about ranked, not pro play. But I'm telling you, gold ball players don't beat gold Sombra players most of the time. I don't care about, like, it's still a cancer matchup, you know. So yeah, okay. Not as hard as I thought it would be. Let's write it down. All right, man. Thoughts on the Wrecking Ball changes? Grading. I think it's fine. I think B is fair. Yeah. I think these are good changes. I don't think he needs many changes. I think since they've given Retract, it's been a pretty significant indirect buff to the character and has lowered his skill floor a little bit, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think his parry perk is fine. I just think there needs to be a little bit more consistency with how crowd control affects him, and then we can adjust his HP accordingly so that people without crowd control also can kill ball. Okay. Oh, gee whittlekers.
We will crush them.
All right. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. I think the big thing with Zarya starting off from the get-go is I think we can actually start to work with her perks first. I'm not going to reiterate my perk suggestions. I literally just made a video on that, so I'm going to cheat and say I already talked about her perks and what changes I would do to her perks. And I'm going to stand by those changes. That's on Spylo clips. I think ! Spylo 3. You can see all of my perks ideas for Zarya. Most of them involve reducing the alt-fire perks effectiveness, allowing you to charge up your alt-fire and launch and be able to hit more from range, just to increase her flexibility in different situations without making her an unkillable machine on the front line. Okay, so that's just immediately that needs to be done immediately. But I also think that I think this character is just incredibly simple and too simple. I think in 5v5 she just is basically bubble yourself and shoot. Every Zarya that I have basically ever coached all the way up to the Grandmaster has essentially been stop looking around you most of the time and just do more damage. Just shoot, turn your brain off and shoot. Every Zarya player that I watch on like Diamond, I want to tear my eyes out because they just are so team focused that they just compromise the pressure. But that's because she's just so simple, guys. She's just so incredibly simple. I think that maybe you could argue that the scaling from 0 to 100 energy is a little bit too extreme, but I honestly think that like you could make tweaks with how easy make it more consistent to build energy, and then maybe we don't need to worry about that. I think you could probably reduce the output of 100 damage charge, like the variance from 100 charge to 0 charge. Like, guys, it's literally double. It's literally double damage. I think that's probably too extreme. and it made more sense when it was easier to bubble a tank and get consistent charge. So I would like to see less variance between 0 and 100 charge, a little bit less variance. And I also, this might be a bit of a hot take here, I don't want to encourage people to only bubble their backline, but I actually wonder if the whole concept of shared cooldowns is broken. I wonder if we need something where like you get refunded a percentage of your cooldown if you bubble a teammate. Like a very small percentage, but basically the TLDR is that there's a slightly more of a motivation to bubble a teammate if you have a good argument for it. I don't think you can split the cooldowns. You can't, because you can't rely off of your teammates to do something. The teammate cooldown is 2 seconds shorter. Oh, really? Oh, you're right. Maybe we should do that more. I don't know. The way the resource works, fine. Then fine. Maybe we lean into it even more, because there just isn't any decision when it comes to projected barrier. I don't know. This character is just so unbelievably simple. I wouldn't even mind giving her alt-fire mobility perk as I know mobility Spylo, but this character feels so much like Orisa and like in all the non-cooldown trading ways. Bubble is not a bad designed ability. I think it's fine. It just functioned a lot better in 66 when there's just something else to enable, and she just feels so out of place right now. I would say probably reduce the gap between 0 and 100 charge, do all the perk fixes that I talked about earlier, and then consider bringing some perks into the base kit and adjust it accordingly, like alt-fire for mobility so that positioning becomes a little bit more complicated, charging alt-fire and then launching it as a perk choice that you can do, giving projectile bubble small AoE knockback and deploy. I don't think so, but you could be like, oh, why don't we let Spotter, which is the health regeneration and movement speed, make that base kit? I don't really know. Do we make alt-fire cost less ammo? Yeah, probably. That's not a bad idea. I think we just need to make her in a slightly better position. 20 ammo is fine. It's just this character. I understand why low rank players ban the crap out of her. She is just the worst. I had a freaking quick play game the other day. Played it versus. It was just miserable on certain situations. She's just very boring to play versus. Yeah. So I think perk fixes, consider bringing in at least 1, maybe 2 of her perk ideas that I have, or the perks that she has, into base kit and adjust accordingly. Basically perk fixes that make her more interesting to play and more thoughtful, and then just close the gap between 100 charge Zarya and a 0 charge Zarya, and probably even reduce the ceiling of how much damage 100 charge does. Reduce recovery time from secondary to primary. I mean, honestly, it's not a bad idea. We'll do bonus. Reduce recovery time between alt-fire and primary. We'd have to kind of take a look at ammo. May need to take a look at ammo. That could be a cool way of like, that could be like raising the skill ceiling of the character where to min-max your DPS, you have to alt-fire beam, like get the layering. So you not only have to switch from projectile to hit scan, but like that's the way to min-max it. If you were to reduce her high charge output as a whole, you know? So that could be your little mechanical skill ceiling there. But something like a little mechanical, oh, when you play Zarya, you do it because this is really cool to do that, like that kind of stuff. Like that little mechanical rhythm feels juicy and satisfying, you know? Okay, thoughts, grading, thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? What do you guys think? I think it was okay. I actually think this is okay. I think this is, I'll give this one a B or even a B+, all things considered, because it's still Zarya, but like, these are definitely some good ideas, and she's a challenge. She's a real challenge. So I'd give it a B, somewhere around a B. And I think the test for this, a lot of these things as well, is would these things also be interesting in 6v6 as well? I think most of them would be. All right, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Ana is mostly fine. I think a lot of the problems with her kit kind of come down to some of the complaints about nade, because it's part of the reason why it has a 14-second cooldown. I think performance-wise, she's relatively fine. So we said we'd throw out balance, but we really just don't need to worry too much about balance. I think the biggest thing is just nade has to be 12 seconds at least. Maybe a reduction on the duration of nade. So like right now, if we take a quick look at anti-nade right now, it does last for 3 seconds. I just don't think it needs to last that long, and we have to take away some sort of. So I would say 12-second nade immediately. To be honest with you, I don't think there's a whole lot more than that. I think we already talked about Groggy, changing Groggy to be a speed boost for the Ana, whether she hits it or not, and not a slow on the target. I don't want to reduce any reduction and reduce the cooldown back to 10 seconds. I wouldn't even mind 11 or 10 seconds if it could be done. Give Ana double jump. Headhunter should not be this strong. Yeah, I think Headhunter maybe being a major and being as strong as it is might be something they need to consider. But Nade needs to be a little bit less potent, so it isn't just like an auto win button versus a lot of characters. And I think it needs to start with her. I think all of our problems with longer. I'm not going to get sucked into the discussion. It's so hard not to, but long support cooldowns that are OP are really, really annoying. I think having her have 0 mobility is fine, especially if we give her some sort of speed boost post Groggy. I spitballed an idea where targets that are naded take 50% more damage off of your next primary fire, and then nerfing some of the damage and healing numbers from the straight up, so that like you're more encouraged to use nade more creatively. Maybe it's something that we could kind of spin around. Reduced healing is an idea that we could spitball. I just don't know if it's 100% necessary. If we just reduce the duration from 3 to like 2. Reduce it from like 3 to 2. Nerf the flat damage or healing if we need to a little bit. And then just reduce it to 12 seconds or 11 seconds. I just don't think we need to go super crazy with it. Again, simple fixes here. Just simple fixes, leave as is. I definitely think Headhunter we kind of have to look at. I also really hate biotic balance, to be honest. I think it's just a skillless thing. It's more accidental value more so than anything else. So I would look a lot at her perks, probably. I'd definitely start with the easy Groggy fix we talked about. I think anything that involves Ana mobility has to be like indirect, or I don't think you want a dash or a wall climb or anything along those lines. I think just letting her not have mobility is fine. I still think that rework of Groggy is all she really needs. I think this is it, guys. I don't think we need any more. If anything... this is going to be such a cop-out. We need more thought into how her perks are done. Groggy needs to be replaced. I think the fix is easy. I think Speed Serum is fine. It could be broken, but it's fun. And then a reduced cooldown on nade. Like, I'm telling you, if we took cooldown on nade from 14 to 12, or 14 to 11, or 14 to 10, dude, that's a huge buff to Ana. So we can take stuff. I know we're not talking about balance as much, but like we can definitely take some strength away. Like, that's a massive buff. We could cut the duration to 2. We could nerf several of her perks. We can nerf the damage healing. Nade cooldown down for every short. No, I don't think that's the play in Overwatch 2. I think you have to be comfortable with solo nade kills to win duels. In fact, I'd honestly encourage that. Which kind of brings up my combo question, which I don't know if it's balanced or not, but it would be fun. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're okay. I think this one is one of the... It's tricky because there's not as much to do. So I think she's mostly fine. I think that a lot of not all of, but a large portion of the complaints with Ana when she is meta is that nade is a little bit too easy to get value out of, which I can definitely agree with that. The timing of nade is like, it's a lot easier. It's hard to get the timing of nade wrong, which really speaks to the duration of the nade, I think. And then there are certain tanks that just don't have really any way of outplaying nade. And I think that's more of a problem with those particular tanks. Like if you look at the more healthy tanks in the game, I mean, Queen can still dodge. She has overhealth that ignores it. Obviously, Winston,
I hate to put Diva, Ryan, whatever, Sigma. These all have ways of mitigating play around nade. It's really only like the Maugas, the Hogs. I guess Queen kind of falls in there to a lesser extent, maybe even like Ramattra. These characters have, in their current state, like a lot less counterplay options, but it's like a two-way street. Is nade a problem? Yes, it absolutely is. But also, it's like, it also brings up the worst of the worst heroes as well, you know? So... Because to me, I think nade needs to be a cooldown that is like really good for. Because I honestly already think nade is good in dueling. Like it feels bad to play into as a tank, so maybe that's like the gameplay loop is encouraged. But like if you've ever watched like high level Ana play, like you're using nade to duel Casses and Genjis and Tracers and stuff. Like you can't like get 4-man splash nades on backline. If that happens, that's sorry. It's a skill issue. You guys are not playing or positioning correctly. A lot of people's perceived problems with nade come more down to the fact that the Ana doesn't know how to use nade, so you can just punish her for using it incorrectly, or you guys are as a positioner just positioning wrong, you know? So I think Ana is just such a good character to have meta for supports. I think like Ana, Brigitte, Lucio, probably like the golden 3 that you want to be like good in your game. Grading, right, grading. Thoughts, guys? I mean, Ana didn't really need a whole lot. I would give it a C plus or a B minus. I think I was kind of disappointed we were unable to put as much time into the perks. Felt like a B minus. Yeah. Okay. BAP time. You guys ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay. So BAP's problems is AoE sustain. That's basically his biggest niche. Even his gun is like just not super strong right now, but I don't think that necessarily needs more buffs to his gun. He just has a utility that just isn't applicable at all. It's exclusively used for himself almost because it's the only thing that you can consistently range. And I actually think his perk set does a really good job trying to address those problems, but it is very much lipstick on a pig. His gun feels good, his ult feels good, his perks feel good, his kit feels awful. The jump feels good, his weapon feels good, the directs feel good, but it just doesn't function right now. I have always thought that shift should be a targeted ability. I remember talking about BAP like 3 years ago, so maybe my opinions have changed, but I remember one of my ideas was that shift should be a targeted ability that could be self or a solo target, and it's just an extended heal over time. I would probably take away the burst heal, or at least significantly nerf the burst heal, but allow you to target somebody. Like you could literally target like an armor pack, but it's like an armor pack but double duration, or like 5-second duration. A little bit more healing, a little bit of burst, just a one single target thing that you can do. You could do all sorts of utility stuff with that as well. We talk about attack speed, we talk about reload speed, we talk about cooldown reduction, we talk about, I mean, there's all those things there's only so much design space that you can have within like what a support can do. And so we'd have to think more about that. But I think some sort of reverting shift into a single target ability that you can do on yourself or somebody else, and then giving somebody else a small buff as well. So it's not just simply a healing utility thing, because it's a single target thing. I think you can add a little sauce to it. A little sauce to it. You get what I'm saying? Maybe get a small attack speed boost and a small heal over time. So there's just a little bit of a question of like, do I want it for myself? Do I want it for somebody else? Just make the plat support players think a little bit. But he has to have more range with his kit. Just a little bit of range. Maybe he's not big AoE glut thing, but just something like that. Yeah, something along those lines. Now, Immortality Field's a lot tougher. Immortality Field is really bad in Overwatch 2 because it's so targeted, and compared to Suzu, it's just way, 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 way worse. I have always felt, I remember we did a lot of brain cooking, me and Sumito, a long time ago about like a damage reduction, not even a damage reduction field, just like a damage reduction buff you could give. I don't know if that would be balanced. I don't know how you would even design that, but the concept is that the reason why damage reduction is more interesting, at least on the surface level, is the fact that it kind of comes with a question of when do you time this? It's like, when do you use a Zarya bubble? When you're 1 HP or as the damage is coming in? Because you can actually enable aggression with damage reduction early in a trait. You don't have to wait till somebody goes down low. So that could be very, very dangerous. We have to really think about that one. But I would start with like, let's just start with shift right now. Let's actually leave lamp as is. Leave lamp as is. Let's not even worry too much about it. Maybe make lamp a damage reduction field, whatever. Like, just leave lamp as this. Let's just do simple fix. Simple fix right now, immediate improvement is single target shift with a small offensive buff, probably attack speed, something like that. And that immediately becomes it's very reactive with BAP's kit. That immediately makes the shift way more proactive, especially when you're talking about heal over time plus a small attack speed boost, something along those lines. And then to be honest with you guys, you do that, and maybe we let it sit. Attack speed with shift, right? You would have to adjust that for sure. But if we just made shift into a better ability a more interesting ability and a more flexible ranged ability, that is a huge buff to his kit and his consistency. And then just, and how all the horrific comps that he struggles versus. Just do that. Just do that and see what happens. Shorter cooldown? Yeah, exactly. I think 12 seconds for sure. You're going to have to nerf the healing. We already talked about that a lot. But yeah, nerf the cooldown from there. 12 seconds, 11 seconds, whatever. And then just go from there. Shift speed boost on yourself. Could be a speed boost. I'm a bit of a sucker for speed, but I don't know if we want to do that just yet. But I'm not sure. Damage reduction lamp, we just have to really be careful of. It's an idea, but it's not one I'm really married to just yet because it could be potentially really strong. I think weapon feels fine. Leave weapon, leave ult. Just give a single target shift and then go from there. Maybe this is just the simplest one we got. Very small change, but I think one that we should do and leave. Flatten nade arc. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Maybe that's this chill. Flatten, I'm going to say bonus because I saw that one too late. Bonus, flatten, nade arc, reduce heal on splash maybe? Not sure. Because the splash aspect of Bap is just, we don't want to make him just on a repeat all over again, but yeah, not sure. Okay. Grade, y'all. Grade. I say equal to Ana, right? Like, there's a lot more things that we should consider, but I think that, like, we're just being honest with our limitations right now. I'm going to give myself a B. Like, I'd really want to try Bap with this. Okay. Are we ready? Brigitte time? Oh, man. Brigitte. Brax, don't kill me. Wait, we already did Brig. We did this with the Brig. Okay, Brax, you're going to have to help me remind me of what my perk fixes were with Brig. 3, 2, 1. What were my perk fixes? Was it like the shield parry? Like you lose less shield when you bash on an instance of damage? I think Brig is okay, except with versus bad matchups. And I think maybe Armor Pack could be a little bit more interesting. Like, I still would love to have Armor Pack overheal targets by just a little bit with overhealth. That instantly is a massive buff for the character and also makes her more flexible and consistent with what she can do. I think immediately I want overhealth and Armor Pack, like base kit, I think. Not armor, overhealth. And then you may have to nerf her Armor Pack accordingly. You could even nerf the burst heal. I think shield needs to be an iframe. This is ridiculous. So a lot of quality of life stuff, right? Like, it's so annoying that it isn't. So annoying that there's a cast time with a shield. Really reduces the skill play that you can do with it. And also needs to consistently block diva bombs and pulse bombs and stuff, dude. So this, you literally can die to, I won't go down the list, but it's just super buggy, Brig Shield. Yeah, consistent overhealth is a massive buff. Massive buff, but it dramatically increases the skill play of the character because it makes a lot more for healing proactive than just strictly reactive. We could even nerf the burst heal because right now, I believe burst heal gives in 25. You could even nerf that further. I think the Braxa had the idea of the shield parry where, like, you can time your bash. I don't know if this would be a perk idea where you time your bash and it reduces the amount of damage that your shield takes if you bash at that instance. Make Inspire more visible. Yeah, I mean, sure. Just a little bit more visible might be nice. I think most of her perks are okay-ish. I like the Burst Inspire. I like the increased movement speed. But I think more of my perk problems with Brigitte are more the fact that, like a lot of other perks, I just wish that some of those transformative perks were available earlier. So that playing into Pharah Hanzo, I can get Inspiring Strike sooner. You know? The movement speed in it on Bash. Yeah, I don't know if making that base kit would be too strong, though. That might be too strong. Post-Bash, I think that might be too strong, but I'm not sure. Shield recovery on bash hit plus, yeah, maybe shield recovery. Yeah. Oh yeah, we talked about directional bash. I don't know. I really don't want an omnidirectional bash. It was an idea that we had with perks, I know, but like, I don't know. What about her ult? I hate her. I hate what they did with her ult, man. If I could change her ult, I would say give her back the original movement speed and give her bash reset, but I really don't like the shield. It just looks so stupid. I just don't know why I hate that they always force Brigitte into this Reinhardt playstyle. It's like, even with the whole like team up things, it just doesn't, it's not how you play the character, man. There's another thing with Rally as well. I don't know if we can have time to talk about it, but I swear I just die in Rally all the freaking time. Even though I'm like, I'll like pop Rally, and I just feel like I just don't generate, I don't know. I'll have to look at it, but maybe that's just something for another day. I need to kind of explore that more. I don't mind not every ultimate being invulnerability though, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. We'll put that in the side notes. Okay, so Brigitte. Yeah, I don't know. They've a lot of stuff with Brig. They've either not changed or she feels. It's weird. I don't see a lot of people talking. Everyone talks about like a lot of the other characters, but like Brig has a lot of every time I play Brig, I get frustrated about certain things, and it's like a lot of the other more vocal communities, but Brig has just as many issues, I swear. Okay, thoughts on the grade? Maybe a little bit ambitious. Maybe not everybody agrees, but I think that one was okay. B plus. Thank you guys. That's very kind of you. You're sweet. C plus. Ah, frick. Okay, Illari. Oh gosh. Illari. All right, Illari. Let's get it started. 3, 2, 1. I mean, she's just freaking boring. She's just a turret simulator, man. I love her hero design, but like, good gosh, it's so boring. Okay, so we need simple fixes. Think. I think turret timing should be a thing. I think turret should decay and pass away. I think it could be like a 5, 6, or 7, or even just a 7 to 8 second thing. I find EDR way more fun when I'm utilizing rapid construction, destroying it, redeploying, re-angling, shooting, destroying it, redeploying, reapplying it. But the problem with that is that if anybody just sneezes on it, then all of a sudden you destroy it and you get a freaking 12-second cooldown. So it's like, dude, I feel like it needs to not have the punishment if it gets shot and broken, you're punished with a drastically bad cooldown. However, it shouldn't have conversely, it shouldn't have permanent uptime either. It should decay and it should break. And I don't know how if that would be a terrible idea. Again, I don't know if this is actually the right solution, but my feeling is that it feels annoying that I can't rotate properly.
Can't be reloaded. Then maybe
sure, ammo or something. Yeah, sure. Like, it feels bad that I can't move with this character without having to destroy my pylon and place it again. And then if that's fine if I have rapid construction and nobody even sneezes at the thing. And because otherwise it's like, oh, well, now I can't move anywhere because I don't have my pylon. I can't play the video game. They've done some good job with like increasing her healing range, but like, which is like nice and all. But like, what it could be is that like it could be fine. It's a boring turret-based character, but at least you're allowed to rotate a little bit more, and there's some like resource management involved. There just isn't. There just isn't right now. It's so freaking hard to do that. There needs to be a lot more punishment for standing still with pylon, but there also they need to allow you to move with pylon more, right? And rapid construction was a good start, but it's not good enough. It needs to be baked into our base kit. You can move with pylon, it gets destroyed, it's okay, you'll have it back in 7 seconds, not 13. And then if you stand still like an idiot, you know, you've missed opportunities to move and rotate. She's just horrific, man. And I also think the other thing too as well, I would even look at how her outburst works. It feels, am I the only one who feels like outburst feels more like a defensive cooldown and not really a movement cooldown? Like, I know there's tech about like you can tap it versus holding it, right? So like tapping it goes you there versus holding it, and you know, but it's not really good for rotating, right? It feels way more about knocking people back, and then you combo that with sunburn, and it just feels like you're not really encouraged to move at all. And not everything has to be about mobility, but I guess it's kind of my point, is that it feels like the worst aspect of mobility, because it's almost exclusively used to deny you. It's never really allowed the EDR to go in aggressive. Now, I know, oh, but actually, I used to go aggressive all the time. Proportionally. Use your brain, right? It should be something that provides a bit more mobility, maybe a little bit less knockback. Pylon should be on a duration or ammo, as Brax was saying, and should also not get complete. Like, here's the whole concept. Why does my pylon have shields? What's the point of a regenerating pylon if it even takes any damage and I have to rotate it? I have the same punishment, right? The whole point of the shields implies that, like, oh, can maybe survive a bit of pressure, but surviving pressure doesn't mean anything when it goes on a massive cooldown and takes any damage, whether it gets destroyed or not.
Maybe make it so it can be charged to give more movement but less boom.
Yeah, maybe that's it. You hold the button down. I think her ult's okay. I think her ult's a lot of fun. It's very like lore appropriate, feels cool. I don't really have any criticisms of that. I wouldn't mind her healing to be a bit more ranged still, like, but I don't know how far you want to go with it, and maybe a little bit less healing. I just feel like the whole healing resource concept is kind of neat, but it's just not super well explored because there's really no way to move. You basically have to play around your solo angle and move. And what they keep doing is they keep nerfing the amount of healing that you get from your pylon, but it doesn't change your gameplay loop. It's like they're like, oh, everybody hates the stand still and shoot pylon playstyle, so let's just nerf the pylon on yourself. But it's like, bro, it's not going to change. Like, you would have to nerf pylon self-healing to even further for it to be, and then you just break the character. Like, you can't you design the character to do this. You can't just then keep tweaking numbers away from it. Like, you have to do, like, fundamental... If you want her to be more selfless with her pylon, then there needs to be more reasons for her to throw her pylon back here. And really, that's not even how Overwatch 2 works. You should be moving and keeping up with your DPS and with your angles and with your tanks, right? She feels like such an Overwatch 1 relic. Okay. This is okay. We've got some ideas to tweak with. Sorry for the noise. Okay. Give her bonus, mate. Oh, yeah, bonus. Ooh, yeah, good call. Bonus. That was something we were asking for. Melee does a bit of burn or something. Always felt thematically it should be there, you know? But, yeah. Okay. Let's, thoughts on the grade, y'all? Thoughts on the grade? What do you guys think? Do we nail it? Do we whiff it? Was it some good ideas, but undercooked? Hey, really? Okay. I think people just don't like EDI, so they're happy to see anybody try. So I appreciate it. A+. All right. I'm the greatest, guys. All right, Juno. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. I think her perks suck. I think beyond perks, I think she's fine. I really think she's fine. I think movement is perfect. I think it's very skill-based in terms of your rotations. There's a actual dichotomy of like trying to decide between AoE team value and helping a solo angle. I love coaching high-level Juno because it's actually a really thoughtful positional thing. She's kind of like Baby's first rotation character, where like you were really challenged to kind of apply yourself into not just standing on main and healing on main. I think my biggest criticism for her is definitely her ultimate. Doesn't feel quite as interesting. It's always been her ultimate for me. Her ultimate and perks, I think. They fixed the movement thing with her. So let's take a second before we look at perks. So perks, headshot, 1.5. It just needs to be. I'm gonna say shooting during torpedo would be the only base kit change I think I would make besides their ultimate would be the ability to shoot while you're torpedoing. And there's a very important reason why that's the case. You could nerf the torpedoes, nerf the gun, nerf the damage. I don't really care. The reason why that is because that torpedo right now is only an AoE ability most of the time. And it's pretty bad in single target. You should probably just shoot most of the time. Depends on the target that's diving you, right? So what I would like to do is if you want to increase Juno's 1v1 survivability potential without adding just a bunch of damage to her kit, which I don't think you should do, you should be able to burn your cooldown and use your weapon at the same time in a single target situation. But if you do that, you then can't use it AoE. So then if you burn this to defend yourself versus a tracer while shooting your weapon, well, then now you don't have any of your AoE utility. I think you should have that choice in the same way that any other support cooldown can be used selfishly. But the best part about with Juno is rather than Suzu Nade, where you don't always get, like, a single target torpedo feels terrible, right? And so you're kind of given that thought process immediately of, like, that's just not all that good. So we'd have to kind of look at it, and then that would be it. I really don't want to give her a self-heal. She doesn't need it. What button would you use to shoot the torpedoes? I mean, the same one that you're doing, don't you just release, or am I crazy? Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm insane. I might be clinically insane. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, you just let go. You just let go. Like, yeah, you just let go. There's a setting for it? I mean, maybe there's something wrong with the settings. I don't know. We don't have time. Yeah, TLDR, that's it. Juno ult, I think, needs to be, I won't say nerfed necessarily, but it's just, I don't know. Maybe there's just, I don't think there's an easy fix to Juno. I think we skip. Perks. What needs to be? Give me some perks, guys. 1.5 headshot. For sure. I think triple jump can stay. I think locked on can stay. I think familial vitals can probably stay. Faster blaster is duty cheeks. Is there any other perk ideas that you have? Implies that she has crit and base kit. Ooh, gosh, that's a huge buff then. Reboosts over triple jump. Is that the one where you get a reset jump on shift? Oh, speed ring range. Speed ring, a bit of range maybe. Base kit or perk. I think the ability to impact people from further away would be cool. Just adds more choice and allows you to be a little bit more creative with your positioning. Encourages players to open themselves up a little bit. I don't think decreased speed ring cooldown based on teammates during launch. I don't think speed ring cooldown is that big of a problem because it's such a long duration. Maybe you could argue that speed ring needs to be in a slightly lower cooldown and a slightly reduced duration, but I think that would be broken. No, I don't want to give her any sustain options here. I don't want her to have the melee perk as Sigma. I don't think she needs knockback. You should be able to keep yourself away. Keep away is part of the skill access of the character. Maybe heal over time with torpedo more, so it becomes more of a thing that you have to kind of time. Frick. Like, let me look really fast at how much torpedoes does. 50 healing over time? Maybe it like reduces the on-hit healing and increases the heal over time? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's even necessary, to be honest. Okay, we're cool. We're cool. Headshot, shooting torpedo if possible. Reset jump on shift instead of the faster blaster thing that we have here. Speed ring with a tiny bit more range. Thoughts? She doesn't need very much, to be honest. They've given her a lot of her movement control back, which is nice, or some of it. I don't think she needs much. I think there's a couple of tweaks that we've done here. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot needed here. Oh, man. Dude, what do we do, man? What do we do? All right. Yes, dear. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm not even killing y'all. I'm not even kidding. Kidding. Freudian slip. I need a second. Okay. Lower cooldown on Suzu. Down to 10 seconds. No intangibility. No invulnerability. It is a cleanse with a heal aspect. And I'm gonna say it. Movement speed. Base kit, heal, cleanse, movement speed. 10 seconds. Teleport can go through walls, no wind up. However, when it goes through walls, the distance it can travel is halved. So whenever she goes through walls, the distance that she can travel is halved if it has to go through walls. I don't even know if that's possible to code. It's just a random idea. You have to go with what the character was intended to be and stay on that design. She's intended to be angle slop, poke, duelist, not healing behind the tank 24/7. Healing has to change. I'm sorry. It just has to change. We have to change how her healing works. I've tried to reconcile it. I think that would be a good start, but it just has to change. It has to change. Healing has to be resource based, like what we already have in the middle of your screen. These Ofuda need to take time to charge, more so than they do right now, and then to compensate, she needs to heal over time. It needs to be dump your heal, 1, 2, 3, get another heal. 1, 2, 3, there we go. 1, 2, 3, there we go. It needs to be a heal over time that gives you downtime that forces stupid plat support players, whatever, I'm joking, to actually think about what they're going to do between those cycles. And whether that's heal over time or whatever else it needs to be. It has to be. You have to force players to think outside the box of this character. You have to hold their hand to get them out of this mindset. I don't have any easy solutions for Kitsune Rush right now. I think we leave as is for right now. More healing over time, less healing per second total because it takes longer to do this. Suzu needs to be up and available more often and have more offensive utility and not strictly defensive utility. I know people talk about wind up with teleport. I think Kiriko has to stay snappy. I think she has to stay snappy. And then if we want to get Cook further, make her a bit fatter and give her 250 or adjust her strafe hitbox. Let her get more aggressive then. Let her get more aggressive, let her do a little bit more, but let her feel more consistent to shoot against. Like, I think hitbox-wise, it's more hitbox than, like it's not, like, you know how they actually shrunk Lifeweaver? I don't think they need to really shrink Kiriko necessarily. I think they just need to make her hitbox a bit wider or maybe change her strafing patterns. Just by a little bit, just by literally a tiny bit, right? The opposite of what they need to do for Zen, I think. So, heal over time, heal resource. Like, they already have the hero fantasy of the papers charging. It doesn't matter, but it's there. Use that. Make Suzu a much lower cooldown. Way more offensive mindset with still giving the cleanse, if you want the cleanse, and still giving the burst healing. Sure, that's fine with me. And then let her shoot. Make her have downtime. Angle, shoot. You can actually kill her. If she TPs away, she can be snappy with it, but if it's through walls, she can't go near as far. I know that's still not going to be enough for a lot of people, and I understand, but at least there's more risk involved immediately. And there's more decisions to be made because Suzu comes up more often. Why? No idea why there's a HUD element. It's just a complete beef with the design. It's like, why do we have a design element? It doesn't matter. Do you guys remember early on in her release, people, I think even I was like, I know a lot of the ML7 stuff were trying so hard with their videos and to explain oh, look at that, you can even hit people here and you can use a couple of heals but not even finish and then shoot, you don't and then people are like, wait, and then people stop talking about it because it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It might as well not exist, and so when people are like, oh, I don't like your idea for that, it doesn't make it, why are you forcing it? It's literally baked into the hero design and just they never did anything with it. So wasted design space. But yeah, the problem with Kiriko the problem with Kiriko is you have to be you cannot sledgehammer nerf her. And don't come to me with oh, well, Swallow, you're just too soft on the stupid platinum Kiriko mains. I'm not saying that They will not do it. They will not do it. If you want to go pie in the sky and be like, they should nerf, they're not going to do it. I'm not saying that like Blizzard devs are going to take my ideas and it's going to be great and we're going to, but don't waste your time telling me that they need to just nerf, because it's not going to happen. The Platinum Kiriko players put food on the table, dude, okay? They put food on the table. You understand what I'm saying? So even though they're playing the character wrong, they put food on the table. It's a tricky problem, I understand, but they put freaking food on the table. So you need to address the pro problem, yes, but you have. But see, do you see what we're trying to do here with the heal over time delay and with the and with the 250 HP and the lower cooldown on Suzu? What are we trying to do? We're trying to make her more intuitive for those flat support players, that they are more likely to play her the way that she's supposed to be played, intuitively. Reduce the amount of raw healing. Give her downtime when you can't do anything but shoot, right? Make Suzu feel like less of an all or nothing defensive cooldown like Lamp, you know? You gotta hold, and I'm not even saying you have to hold the stupid player's hands. To be honest with you, the designers deserve criticism for this. If a character is just played completely wrong 24/7, then that's probably a problem in how her design space was utilized. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be realistic, and people give me so much freaking grief on that, you know, like, oh, Spile Ages. Dude, I hate Kiriko more than you do, you jackass, and I've been talking about the problem with Kiriko before you were even born. You're just these idealist people that are like refuse to even have any sort of realism or nuance with their discussion, and then just they get praised just because they speak the hard truths. It's like, no, you're just a jackass. Nobody's gonna listen to what you have to say because you refuse to even think about things critically beyond, yeah, let's nerf damage, nerf the hit, make her bigger, nerf Kitsune Rush, nerf the healing, nerf the teleport through walls, remove all the aspects of Suzu. Yeah, that'll definitely happen, right? That seems wise. That seems wise. Anyway, I don't give a frick. I'm giving myself an A. I don't give a frick, guys. Screw the police, man. A tier right there. I'm giving it to myself. I'm gonna stand up. I gotta pee. I'm not gonna pee. I'm gonna go get something to eat. Weaver's gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna try to tastefully fight the direction they've been going a little bit, but I think Weaver will be a little bit easier because we've put a lot of thought into Weaver before, and I think we have some interesting ideas that could be fun to work with. How much for a buzz cut? Weaver's been good, so before we go into Weaver, okay, I guess we should just go. We're not gonna cheat here. We're cheating. I'm not giving myself time to think. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1. I think they've done a good job with Weaver. I think that my problem is that they've definitely recognized problems with Weaver, but I think that I would have gone in a different direction. I think I would have leaned more into the 275 HP, and here's the reason why. It's not just because I want beefy men, like, you know. The reason why is because I think if you want his utility to work with both pedal and grip, I think you have to have a beefier character. In order to have a character that repositions himself and others, that involves proximity and a lot more risk. He's not a character like Ana or maybe even Bap, where a lot of your value kind of comes through manipulating the field from afar, because pulling people out of danger isn't a good way to utilize that utility. It's just not consistent enough. You need to be able to reposition people aggressively, and he doesn't have that in the direction as much in the direction that they're going. What I would do with Weaver is I would give him 275, and we've talked about this before. The ability to pull people needs to be rewarded if it's a proactive pull, which means it needs to be correlated with the health that they were at when you pulled them. So we've talked about this before, right? Anybody that's above 75% HP when you pull them should cut the cooldown of your life grip, ready? In half. In half. If you pull somebody here, this should be an 8-second cooldown on pull. You should be able to reward it for repositioning people early in mid-fight, and you can only do that if Weaver has the sustain or the health to be able to do that. I think Dash is fine as is. I wouldn't give him his 10 healing per second back. I think that was too strong. I'd give him 10 healing per second, or not 10 healing per second. I'd give him 275 HP, give him the reduced cooldown on pull when he pulls somebody over 75% HP, and then we probably need to look at Pedal as a whole. I think Pedal should never ever be seen as a permanent solution. I think Pedal should have a duration like Pylon, which means you could honestly even reduce its HP to like basically to where it's breakable in like a full second. It should be as a temporary get out of jail free card that enables rotations afterwards. You guys know how you have like the tech of like doing this kind of stuff? This right there, wait, I messed it up. When you jump at the top of Pedal, this kind of stuff here, right there, that's where Weaver's way more fun, being able to reposition people. Do you guys remember SVB? Of course you guys remember SVB. One of the things that SVB said early on with Weaver is that everybody was wrong about Weaver. Weaver's actually good. You just need to know how to play him. You need to be using to reposition people aggressively. And he was wrong. However, the concept is actually dead right. If you could actually do that with the kit that he has, it's actually a really consistent way. Because what Weaver needs is consistent value output with his kit, and he doesn't have that. He needs to be a dive target to be useful. Or he requires somebody else to be a dive target to be useful. Otherwise, it's inconsistent. So I know everyone's like, oh, I hate pull. Again, I'm going to give you the treatment that I talked about with Kiriko earlier. Sorry, it's not going anywhere. You're going to have to deal with it. So we're going to make Weaver more interesting and more fun to play. Sorry. I understand. Some of you are like, why are you trying to save Roadhog, Mercy, and, whatever, Kiriko, they're just terrible design characters, let them rot. No, sorry. No, that's not what we're doing here. We're going to make this fun. 275 HP, keep the reduced hitbox, he can have it. Indirect survivability is awesome. Let him have indirect survivability by having a slightly smaller hitbox and 275 HP. Works for me. Let it get a reduced cooldown, 50% on targets that are over 75% HP. Reduced, the cooldown on Petal is fine, maybe even lowered a little bit, but the duration needs to be significantly reduced. And honestly, you could even have a heal on the Petal. When he maybe that's too much. I don't know. There's something that they could do with Petal. Maybe I'm cooking too much. I think that's honestly it. I think this delay needs to go. You see that? The delay when you're charging up heal and then transitioning to damage, that needs to be smoothed out a little bit. Yeah, less Petal HP for sure. Well, remember, the goal is that we don't want Petal to be something that you're actually just actively sitting on AFK. This is the least interesting aspect of Weaver's play, to play into and to play as personally. So you got to be really careful with what you do with that, because just the sitting on the Petal AFK playstyle. Yeah, Petal should be, I think, a much lower duration and much snappier. And just more frequently available. I think Petal should just be a repositioning tool, like it was intended. Not I'm going to sit untouchable from half of the cast the entire game, I think that would be way more interesting. Okay, Lifeweaver. That's how you go from Lifeweaver being freaking useless to being annoying as crap to play versus, because either Life Grip Petal does nothing or Life Grip Petal does everything. It's one of the most inconsistent. It's like Res. It's a lot like Res with Mercy. It's one of the most inconsistent support utilities in the entire game. And a lot of it's compositional specific, right? Which is really toxic. But okay. Grading, I think A. I think A for me. That's one I've thought more about. I just think it would be, and for me, I think the best grade for me is I would freaking want to, I would love to try that. I don't like Lifeweaver that much, but I have played a decent amount of him and coached a lot of him. But I would really like to play that. I think it would be a lot of fun to play. Okay. Lucio. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Wait. Hang on. I'm gonna get copyrighted for this one, but I don't even care. All right, well, thank you, Astro, for that. Yeah, Lucio's perfect. Leave him as is. Perks are good. There's pretty clear situations in which you choose either perk, which I don't think is a bad thing, because there are different situations to choose different perks. Depends on the matchup, the situation. His kit's really dynamic design. He definitely has weaknesses for sure. He's punishable. He's skill based. I think uncontroversially here, I might like Lucio metas more so than any other support, maybe. Lucio or Ana, it's tough, but I think Lucio probably gets the edge for most folks. And I think that's fair. Amazing. Oh man. All right, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1. We have to get Mercy to move. I think the way to encourage Mercy to move is to discourage her from not moving. So I think giving her 250 HP, I know it's a hot take, but I think that she probably needs it. And then we need to give her some sort of thing to where she's forced to move through decaying resource or decaying beam. And I think damage boost, I think we've talked about this as well. I don't know how much we want to cook with a minor kit rework, so maybe we don't want to go too deep down there. But I've always thought damage boost exclusive, being only damage boost is what really buttonholes her. But maybe, I remember we did the whole Mercy fix video. It has almost 100,000 views on YouTube. Mercy players want to move, man. They want to freaking move. And Mercy, people that play versus Mercy wanted to move too. You want her to take risk, and there needs to be reward for taking risk. And right now, I just don't know that there is without resource-based management, because you basically are just kind of encouraged to sit on an angle and discouraged from taking any sort of risks. I don't think her identity is completely toxic if you focus on the identity of movement. Make flash shield base kit, flash boost the same slot, increased effectiveness, damage booster like Lucio amp causes break points, give her season 2 movement back. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we're objectively that's a huge buff, but who cares? Like we can nerf all sorts of aspects. Like Mercy's doing pretty good. We can nerf a lot of other aspects about her kit, but I think making her a bit 250 HP is sure okay. Res has to go, but I don't know if we have the resources to fix that right now. I said that with a straight face. What does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think we start with like beam decay. There has to be some form of beam decay, man. There has to be some form of beam decay, and we have to give her 250. And I think I would encourage damage boost to be reworked into something, tweaked into something that is a little bit more universally useful. Or damage boost has resource or something like that. Like, again, it has to be resource based or... But then the problem with resource based is that still doesn't encourage you to move around much. Unless moving around is what... But then if you're talking about the movement itself regenerates, then they're just going to spam the same text on the same target. Haste instead of boost, sure. What does a Mercy contribute? Well, that's the problem, is that Mercy can absolutely keep... See, the thing with Mercy is that Mercy, if she was a bit beefier or had a bit more, she could absolutely keep tempo with Genji Tracer. Mercy movement is not so. If you're good at Mercy movement, dude, you could absolutely keep up with Genji Tracer. You might not live on the back line, but you can absolutely, with your verticality and speed, it's there. The movement capabilities, especially in Overwatch 2, are there. I think this concept is that Mercy can't play with dive is just kind of archaic and also is focused more on her squishiness, you know? Yeah, I feel like this one is going to get a C+ for me because I'm not really giving good answers, but it has to start with resource management, with like beam decay. The other thing as well is like if she had more beam decay and could actually help divers more, the thing with Mercy is she doesn't need like crazy utility. Imagine having a heal pocket on a Genji dive. Like a double health harmony orb pocketing on you, basically. That would be nutso if the Mercy could do it. Like, there already is pretty good reward for being able to pocket a diver if you can live. Even a tank. I always say get your hands dirty. I don't necessarily mean like proximity, you know what I'm saying? But like, you know what I'm saying? Like all sorts of crap going on here, you know what I'm saying? Get your settings right, you know? All sorts of crap. Not really proposing many solutions besides 250 HP and, I mean, I'm not even saying how the decay would work. It's good ideas, I guess. I think so, obviously. It's my ideas, but I'm not really giving anything concrete to do. All right. Oh, gosh, man. We've done a lot of thoughts on Moira, but it's been a long time. I might be washed with my Moira feedback. All right. 3, 2, 1.
I feel like the reverse orb perk is the direction Moira should be looking at. It feels good to throw a good orb and then pull it back through to play off of space and map geometry.
Actually, yeah. Okay, so let's cook. Revert orb resource needs to be lower. I think especially in damage orb, but probably heal orb as well. Yeah. And then honestly, Brax, freaking cook, bro. You cook. I think reverse orb should be base kit. Maybe. Anything that makes more multitasking, lean into that design there. I think reverse orb should be base kit. I think she should be 250 HP and have less healing per second on her alternate fire. What is it right now? 30? I think you should go to like 20, which means that she's more consistent versus burst fire matchups, but like less cancer to play versus dive matchups. Lower DPS. Yes, Waloob. Yes, Waloob gets credit for that idea. I agree with Waloob. And then I think there needs to be a hurt box with alt fire. I don't think we should give her like headshots or skill shots necessarily, but I do think that the forgiveness, like you see this, like I think it should be, this should do less damage. This should do more damage. Less, more. You get what I'm saying? There needs to not be a head hitbox, but I think there needs to be a gradient of like an A tier tracking or B tier tracking, and you're punished or rewarded accordingly. Just a tiny bit, a little bit. Maybe even only like 25 or 30% more damage. Just, we don't want to go like full on mechanical mode. And I'm honestly, I'm not married to that idea either. We don't have to. I understand that not every character can have mechanics. But the problem with Moira right now, this is especially why I like that reverse orb idea, is that she doesn't really have resource management that's a legitimate part of her kit. There isn't a lot of like game sense strategy that there is with like, let's say even a character like Lucio or Winston. she just doesn't really have that in her kit. She just doesn't really have anything in her kit. And I don't think she needs to be like super high, crazy, difficult character to play, but I would like that potential if you want to apply yourself. Like, you can still throw your orb and not even think about it. But if you want to, you can tap it. You can still just kind of turn your brain off and track, but if you want to, it's there. You know, if you want to. It's a different type of aim. It's not the same type of aim, but it's if you want to, it's there, you know? That might be just the simplest fix right there. Just leave as is, you know? 250, reduce her healing per second on self-heal, which definitely makes her matchups a little bit more consistent and less frustrating on both sides of the equation. Give orb reversal so you have more game sense management to available, and then if you want to be more precise with your tracking, go for it. I really like reverse orb a lot, and it's a shame that Phantom Step is just the better perk, because it's a lot of fun to play. Like, I played with it a couple of rounds, and I actually really enjoyed thinking about it a lot. I would have loved to have done that more. I don't know. I know that they've really tried to give her utility, but I just don't know where you would do it. There's a world where you could fade through teammates for some form of value. That could be something that you can consider, but I feel like ultimately her gameplay loop really does lean into kind of like mid-range mobility pressure. She's like Kiriko before Kiriko was around, just a more short-range version of Kiriko, and I don't know if you'd have to kind of warp a lot of aspects of her kit to change that, I think. I think the problem in Moira is that like a lot of her perceived skill ceiling comes from the ability to do things like this and bounce, but the reality is that that is just not very relevant. It's very, very not very relevant, even at the highest level. A lot of what you're doing with Moira is more about resource rotations and so on, and so the whole skill shot fantasy, I think without orb reversal, is a little weaker than people think. And I say this as somebody that has worked extensively with even the best Moira player in the world, right? Nolan and coaching Moira at the top level for a long time, but yeah. I also think that you could lean more into heal over time. I'll put that as a bonus thought, like give her a bit more heal over time. I love heal over time when it's used tastefully, because I do think it improves and rewards players who are kind of thinking ahead of time. There's some design space here. I think, you know, this is definitely one of those situations where you could skill shot. We've had like little ideas where you could hit somebody with an orb and it sticks with them. There's some stuff that you can do with that as well, but I don't think we have to make Moira Ana. You know, it just something. I will say Moira is a great example. Another, I talked about it already a lot extensively with the HP video I did, but I really do think that Moira is another example of like a misread from the design team on what a 225 HP hero should be. Like Moira's kit is not like Moira has like pretty sharp range limitations with both her like her fade, like you really kind of want to go Rambo here and there, especially in comparison to characters like Ana and Zen and Bap, and yet they just chunked her to 225 because she was too hard to kill for bronze players. And while I actually agree with that motivation a lot, like she does need to be harder to kill for bronze players, the reason that she's hard to kill for bronze players is because she freaking has 35 or 30 healing per second plus orb, which is 65 healing per second. So like that's why she's hard to hit for bronze players, especially post season 9. You know, again, it just seems like, why are we pretending that we don't want burst and then saying burst is the only way that a bronze player can kill a bronze Moira? You know, it's like what's the point? Like bronze players can't hit their shots, so they need to not have a target that's going to full heal. You know, no bronze player is going to 2-tap a Moira. You know what I'm saying? And punish her for a lot. They're not, the Genji's never going to kill a bronze Moira if she's healing herself for 30 healing per second, you know? So they want to make the character more punishable, but that's not how you do it. Thoughts on the Moira? What do you guys think on the grade? I think I'll give myself a B+, because I think given what we have, it's these are some interesting ideas. It's still Moira, but we've thought about it before. All right, Wuyang. You guys ready? Let's do it. I started to think and I realized I was cheating. 3, 2, 1, go. I think Wave has to be in a lower cooldown. Lower cooldown, probably a bit of significantly less healing. Maybe the heal amp reduces a little bit here. I would like more, maybe more damage on the Wave, like the fall off to be not quite as harsh. Like, okay, let me kind of clarify my issues with Wave. Wave is just not a dynamic cooldown at all. Like, there's basically only one way to use it, and it's to heal somebody, yourself or a teammate. The damage aspect, the boop aspect, a lot of the other aspects just aren't really relevant at all because it's on such a long cooldown, and then the damage aspect of it is so freaking weak. So there's no like kind of like, you know how like you think about like on a nade, like how am I going to use this nade? Do I want to go offensive, defensive? There just isn't any of that with Wuyang and at any level. You just heal amp your tank or you heal yourself. That's basically it. And then because it's too long of a cooldown if you screw it up, first off, and then there's just not enough reward to even use it offensively at all. It feels like you kind of want to be like, all right, let's get a big clump of enemies and wave, yeah. No, it's not good. It's not good. And so I think that wave fall off, like the 80 to 40s probably need to be a little bit more gradient along like the 80 to 50 or 80 to 60 or something along those lines. I don't care about the perk. We can nerf the perk, Jacob. I agree with you. As long as it reapplies the amp, I agree. But then we need to nerf the perk because the whole concept of having a 14-second cooldown on a heal and basically just a big old heal amp just... Honestly, here's the other thing as well. I want to remind you guys, this is something that people don't even remember, right? Remember the other thing that wave does as well that we could very easily nerf. Look at my wave resource, my heal resource, right? It heals your heal resource, right? People don't even realize that. I don't think that's a bad thing completely, but that is another little knob that we could tweak there if wave is overtuned, you know? Higher knockups on waves. I could live with that. I mean, I'm a hit or miss, so I don't think the boop aspect is necessarily something that needs to be majorly buffed, although it's maybe something we could explore. But yeah, I think lower cooldown. I think smaller heal amp, a more forgiving damage radiant, and probably less healing resource. I think that they probably need to nerf the damage on the primary fire a little bit, or continue to nerf the splash maybe a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I think people overreacted. He was definitely wildly overtuned, but obviously if we're going to be buffing certain aspects of him, I think we need to open up. We need to allow him to continue to focus on damage, but with a little bit more dynamism maybe. Primary fire feels maybe even the projectile's a little bit too big. I'm not so sure. I would like to see, I still want to see a wall bounce. I still want movement tech. It's better than it used to be, but we still desperately need even just a base level of movement tech with Wuyang's shift. It is a very bland cooldown, basically just used for repositioning, which is fine if your name is Juno, who also, by the way, has a ledge catch with her shift, but it's not so fine if your name is Wuyang. And yeah, tri-shot doesn't really make a whole lot of sense with being precise. I think it clashes with the Zero Fantasy just a little bit. Just a bit of movement tech. This is something I've said literally from the very first day of his playtest over a long time ago, about a year ago. I said, just give him a wall bounce, man. Just give him a wall bounce. Just once. Just pop, pop, you know? There's your verticality, right? Just makes it so much more interesting, engaging. They've done a really good job with his ultimate. They've improved the ultimate quality of life a lot. I think the wave cascade is also really nice. Like, it goes down now, which is great. They used to not do that. And I think maybe... I've thought as an idea, maybe more of a perk thing, which I guess we won't really get into. It would be nice if your wave actually kind of knocked back people a little bit when you're riding it, your guardianship, your rushing torrent or whatever. Just at like 20 damage, like a venture, like basically 10 damage, like a venture thing, burrow. And yeah, if we're gonna do that, then maybe removing the burst from the shift. But honestly, the burst from the shift is kind of what makes the movement feel snappy and useful. So you'd have to be careful of that. But yeah, if you're saying remove the burst a little bit, but reduce the cooldown, I think the cooldown's okay, but maybe you're right. I don't know. Any other thoughts? Movement tech, tweaks to wave, tweaks to primary fire, either hitbox or splash continually. I still would love to see 250 for him just so that we can have more reasons to use our wave and our shift more aggressively. But maybe 225 is okay if his movement tech is better. I think the 225 is a lot like Echo, where it can be earned if his movement and utility and his mobility feels better. Otherwise, it's just not earned. Here's what I would like. Okay, we won't do this as a bonus. Okay, maybe this is a bonus. I think shift lasts too long. I don't think shift needs to last that long. It really just feel like a repurposed Juno thing. Just make it last, how long is it? 4 seconds? 3? I guess you can look here. Yeah, just make it last 3 seconds or 2 seconds. But okay. Grade, y'all? Grade on a Wuyang? I'll give it, I think it's, maybe a B. Maybe a B. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm not really sure. B, you need to fix his perks more to get a higher grade? Fair. I will say that I'm not going as in depth on the perk fixes because I did kind of do that already. Maybe that wasn't a great idea, but it was on Spylo Clips, like exclamation mark Spylo 3. I did a video on that a while back. All right, Zen. Last one, y'all. 3, 2, 1, go. I think you keep the damage focus and the lack of mobility. I think you keep it. Maybe you introduce a perk for a little bit of repositioning fun. Bop, you know, like get a little kick here, like bop, you know, a little bit of verticality, just like a bop, you know, like a little, bop, you know, but you don't really do much more than that. I think leave him as is for that part. I think one of the biggest things that you could do for Zen, just immediate quality of life change, is just shrink his hitbox. Not even his size, I think his size is fine, but if you've ever seen like the workshop things, this fricker has a hitbox that's like triple his size. It's bigger than any other character in relation to their actual hitbox. It just is so, it doesn't need to be that big. And it's a large part of why he feels overly fragile. He should be punishable. He shouldn't need a defensive cooldown. Just make it so that his visual hitbox is a little bit tighter. That's it. Like, let me see if I can demonstrate it here. There, I mean, look at that, guys. That is absolutely absurd. Look at that. Look at that. It was worse than I thought it would be. Like, that has to be reduced. Like, that's just absurd. That's just absolutely absurd. So change that, please. That would be a pretty significant buff for Zenyatta. I look bigger than you think, I think. I wouldn't mind seeing some more work done with... I like Trance base kit. I really like what they did with the Discord with Trance, but I would actually like base kit Trance to have the opportunity to Harmony or Discord. I would love to have more skill ceiling with that ultimate. I would love to see use your abilities while you're in Trance. I would love to see shrink the hurt box a little bit. I think you could probably, if you do all that, you could probably even nerf Discord even further. 20% is fine. I think if you could keep nerfing Discord and then reduce the cooldown like 6 seconds to something lower, it really does feel clunky, but I understand why they did it, especially in the solo tank format. But I don't know. Is it hitbox or projectile size as well? Let's find out. It's both, but it's, I mean, for crying out loud, dude. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that, man. If you were to give Zenyatta mobility, I think it would either be like the perk base kit. You could give him the float perk base kit. You could. You could. That would increase his skill ceiling by a decent amount. I think the problem with the float perk is it's just situationally useful. But honestly, I think that's exactly what Zenyatta needs, is situational mobility. I don't think you give him any more than situational mobility. Like, it's useful here and there, but that's about it. But situational mobility is absolutely the play, I think. Something that is occasionally useful if you're smart enough to look for it. And nothing more than that. Maybe a nerf in Discord. Maybe a smaller hitbox, as we said. Abilities during Trance. And then my final wish list, which is more of an experiment than it is anything else. I really like the 2 Harmony Orbs as part of a perk set. I think it's just fun. I think it increases your APM of like thinking besides just shooting. But I would love if Harmony Orb had, I know you guys are gonna hate me, I would love it if it had like either a cooldown reduction or a slight base movement speed increase. And then, you know, nerf as a perk. Because the problem with Harmony Orb is that it's only 35 healing per second, which is fine. I don't think that should be buffed. However, it means that it's really not good to Harmony Orb your tank 99% of the time unless your angle is just AFK on main, because it's such a tiny bit of healing, especially after the DPS passive, that it just is amplified significantly on any character that has active survivability besides just raw healing. Genji, Tracer, Sombra, Pharah, Echo, even just random Cassidy, Hanzo, anybody, right? So the problem is that I think the decision-making behind who to Harmony Orb is way too simple, and I would love a bit of movement speed, which then goes, oh, if I can situationally Harmony Orb my tank, I can, like that, you still probably wouldn't want to park your Harmony Orb on tank, even with like a 5 or 10% movement speed, but all of a sudden you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it just a little bit, and that sort of decision-making, I just don't find is really baked into Zenyatta's kit enough. More front-loaded healing? Yeah, I'm just scared of front-loaded healing. I'm scared of burst healing, sorry. But I like how you're thinking. That's definitely a different way of doing it. Could be pretty crazy with double orb, though. That's true. That's true. But to be honest with you, that isn't... Zen is really bad in those Brawl Rush comps, right? So then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, wait. Maybe we could actually make a Zen work with Rein here. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just opens up some thought processes, right? And then you could do all this with, like... You'd have to probably nerf stuff like, you know, his Discord orb percentage, maybe even the range. I don't know. Like, there's just different ways of looking at it. Percentage healing would probably break it, because I think that would probably just mean more tank, but again, you guys are thinking about it the right way, so, you know, maybe you guys are right. I love Zen. Zen is probably I think he's my most played character in the game. I love the simplicity of his kit. I don't want to introduce cooldown management into his kit. I think that's kind of like his little niches that he skips that, but I would like to introduce more decision-making headspace without making him a multitasking monster, right? It's more of a live time decision about whether you want to move your speed boost. Is there a location that I can reposition to that doesn't involve me jumping, right? And can I live a dive without having a self-heal just by being a teeny bit smaller? Thoughts? I like it. I think it very clearly... I'll give myself a B+ in this one, because it very clearly remains the same character that he is. but has a little bit more room for flexibility. And this isn't just about like making every character have dynamism and flexibility. It also makes the character just more fun. For me, I would have more fun playing this version of Zen, thinking about my Harmony Orb more, not dying instantly to just random crap that didn't even hit me. Being able to use my abilities during trance feels freaking amazing, right? Being able to consistently use the float perk, just having float perk and base kit would make the character 5% more fun to play all the time. Okay, any last thoughts, guys, on the support stuff? I guess that was it. And then I guess we'll have Saturday, we'll have DPS, which is what, 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19k. So we'll probably reduce it to like 4 minutes on DPS if possible, just to keep it reasonable. All right, are you ready? Show the fade. I told you it's got a little faux hawk going on here. What's up, fellow children? Wait. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, Ashe. I think Ashe is honestly mostly fine. I think she's probably the healthiest hit scan in the entire game. I'm actually going to suggest a couple things that we did with the perk fixes, but maybe consider them into just like considering how the character functions. First things first, I'm going to say it. The buff they gave her sucks. It freaking sucks. We don't need more range on sniper characters. Ashe has a like 30, 50 meter fall off range that made her feel effective at range. That yes, she can get poked up by Widow Hanzo, but we'll talk about those edge cases later. And to be honest, like that was her identity. She's like more of a mid-range sniper, especially with her perks of like Sidewinder, Remote Detonator, and so on. I hate that they buffed that. It makes me so upset that they did that. It was just a completely uncalled for change when there's so much more design space. The only thing that I think Ashe really needs is they need a reversion to that change. And then I think I would love to see just a small thing, which I've already mentioned before, which is that if Coach Gun doesn't hit a target, doesn't do any damage, it gets its cooldown reduced by 3 or 4 seconds. That's basically it, like a 3 cooldown, 4 cooldown, whatever, so that you can use it for repositioning more, but if you use it to boop away a target, then you get the full cooldown. It allows for more fluid rotational stuff without necessarily being a disengage mobility cooldown, right? The idea is that Ashe sometimes has really bad matchups versus certain dive characters because you don't really want to use your cooldown to rotate, so you're not only stuck on worse angles, but then you're also vulnerable when you get dove. I would like it to be a little bit like the Lifeweaver thing, where you're allowed to use your cooldown to move people around, but you still have to pay attention to the cooldown, if that makes sense. I really think that's honestly the only thing here. I just don't think there's anything. They've done a good job with their perks. I think they've done a better job with the perks. I think maybe there's something, maybe we could talk about like Airburst as a perk, the one that has a increased detonation radius. I've said like a dynamite on the floor, leaving like a little puddle would be cool. I just don't think Airburst really changes her gameplay loop up at all. You guys have any other perk ideas? So revert, fall off, change. It's just stupid. Coach Gun, reduced cooldown by 3-4 seconds when hitting no target. Make swapping between scoped and unscoped quicker while shooting. I don't know if we want that. That might be too bursty breakpoint. Not something you see too often, but maybe. I do like your idea. What do you guys think about Dynamite Reveal? Dynamite Reveal, maybe? Might be an interesting way of opening up some thoughts. Coach Gun self-off is lower when you crouch. That's an interesting idea. Just little things, you know, to explore. Maybe combo them with perks like they did with the Brigitte. Burning Refresh by Headshots perk? Could be, yeah. Could be. I think that might be a little broken, though. Because if you dynamite somebody and you just hit one unscoped headshot, like, that resets the burn. That could be super, super broken in 1v1s. After not firing for 2 seconds, your next scope shot deals plus 10% damage. Ooh. I mean, you'd have to be careful of that, but that would encourage more rotational, more burst stuff. Not more burst, but more rotational. And her sustain damage is always so fast with Ashe, but yeah, I think it's okay. Driver shooting give increased damage when shooting shields without the ammo refund? Maybe. Yeah. Because Ashe is actually really good DPS, but the problem is like just dumping all your shots to break a shield means that you don't have any shots to shoot afterwards, which we don't really want to remove that, but maybe we could kind of tweak with that. Thoughts on the fixes? I mean, it's fine. I think B+, to be honest. Like, she doesn't need much, but I think our ideas are okay. Okay, any last things before we go into Bastion? Bastion time? Okay, we ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. Bastion doesn't need much, to be honest. The only thing I would like to see is like continuing to look at like how effective turret is versus tank. But for a minor rework, I don't have a whole lot of ideas. Yeah, maybe the old ultimate back. Yeah, honestly, maybe just the old ultimate back, bro. Because you could even leave the minor perk with the giving 300 temporary overhealth. You could just leave that and have the old ultimate. That would be sick. No, you don't need a new perk. Keep the old one. We've already talked about the nerfs that they need to do to his nade refresh, which is just one nerf. You just need to not get the nade refresh when you enter your turret form. You only get it when you leave. So it's still a really solid perk. That might be broken, maybe, but ult perks, that's just the problem with ult perks, is that you have to make them really strong. How would the Lindholm Major work with the old ultimate? It would just be a stronger version of it. Maybe with a slower fire rate, I don't know, or increased movement speed or something, I don't know. But, oh, I see what you're saying, like, but yeah, maybe, I don't know. I don't think, like, I think you just have to look more into his turret form. Bring Bastion's turret damage down, but lower movement speed penalty. It's not a bad idea, because that would allow you to use it more creatively. Yeah, true. The movement speed penalty also makes him really bad versus snipers. He's terrible versus snipers, like unplayable versus characters like Hanzo. So, reduce movement speed, reduce damage, penalty, reduce damage. Experiment with the idea of the ultimate. Maybe that makes Lindholm explosives redundant. I don't know. Maybe a different major would be a different E for Bastion. Yeah, that's true. So the E that he has now is more of a self-preservation and off-angle maxing. The problem is that the E is really flexible. It just does a lot of things, you know? So you need something that's like good versus like snipers, basically. Like it would be like a matchup E, where E is just good generally. What would you do with E then? What would you do with your Lindholm explosives then? He has another button. Now what? What do you do? Maybe you press E and it tightens the spread in your turret. And just tightens the spread a little bit for 2 seconds or something like that. Like it's like the Diva Fusion perk, kind of. It doesn't do more damage, but it just tightens him at distance. I mean, straight up, a shield is not a terrible idea. A very low HP shield. It would have to be like a quick, like a 200 HP shield or something, a 100 HP shield. Okay. Yeah, permanent wall hacks I'm scared of, but it is not a bad idea. The problem with the wall hacks thing is, as we said, is it doesn't really help us bad matchups much at all. The movement speed will help a little bit though on turret. That will definitely help. Anyway, I think this is okay. I think this is okay. This wasn't bad. I'll give it a B minus. It was okay. I would have liked to have spent more time cooking with the turret and maybe more of that alternative E idea, but sadly it came up too late. But it was a good shout. Whoever had the idea of giving him a second E on the other Lindholm explosives, that's a good idea. Cassidy, you guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. 275. Nerf the gradient of his fall off. In other words, his maximum fall off damage is probably fine, but it kicks in a little bit faster so that you're not still two-tapping at 30 meters, if I remember correctly. Okay, it's not quite 30 meters. Is it 25? I think it's like 26. But the gradient is too forgiving. Like, this guy should not be doing this much damage with a headshot at this range. Like, that's just crazy to me. He should not be competing with, like, Soldier 76 at this range. That just is absurd. I think Silver Bullet competing with that is fine. That's like a niche case that adds some variety to the gameplay, which is what perks should be doing. But this is not even 25. This is like 27 meters, right? That's just ridiculous. So 270, give him 275 back. Give him 275 back right now. Nerf the fall off. I think we should look at Hinder. And then we desperately need to look at both Even the Odds and Gunslinging, because they are absolutely garbage perks. Remove his roll refresh major and give him a new perk that gives him movement speed after rolling. Actually cooking with that one. I like that one. Move speed after roll, 275 HP, fall off gradient. So he actually becomes a truly short to medium range hit scan. Not some stupid Sojourn, Hanzo, Widow, Ashe, Soldier 76 competition. It's just stupid. I don't know what they're doing. Hinder more range. I think we need to remove Hinder, guys. I think we need to remove Hinder. I think we need to actually, I wonder if we, because here's my problem with Hinder. I wasn't a big fan of the stun of flashbang either, but at least you could use it aggressively. Hinder is just a very bad aggressive cooldown. Like, it's very bad. Because it's not something you can, it's only something that you can really use reactively, because even when you're angling, you're really only using the Hinder for the damage. You're not even using it for the Hinder aspect. It's such a clunky form of crowd control. So it's like either oppressive or almost completely useless. Enable roll during ult. Ooh, you're cooking, Aerithal. So I straight up think that for easy fixes, just giving him stun back and then just nerfing the duration as we need to is like such a low-hanging fruit if we don't want to put a lot of thought into it. But I'm open to other ideas, though. I'm not saying he has to have Hinder or Flashbang. I'm just saying, like, I think I would prefer Flashbang over Hinder. Hinder does so much damage for some reason. Well, here's a hot take, right? If we could buff bang damage and nerf the CC. Because then you're actually using it more for the combo potential, and the CC is a side benefit that is sometimes situationally useful. You know what I'm saying? Remember, when you buff damage, it makes it more about the combo and less about the crowd control, less about the utility. Because let's be honest, you're not really using Hinder for utility half the time anyway. Unless you're playing versus like a Wrecking Ball. You're just spamming it in the first tank or whatever. Either that person just doesn't want to play Overwatch anymore or what. What about Fan the Hammer anyway? I don't know if there's a solution to Fan the Hammer. He just has such a pared down kit. Rolls, they've done a good job with Roll. Yeah, they definitely need to nerf the duration of Hinder Stun. I just think that was such an unbelievable miss. Yeah, I think Aerithal cooked with the solutions. I think 275 fall off gradient gives us a lot more design flexibility to kind of explore, because he actually has a hero identity that you can actually explore. And then whether Hinder or Flashbang, we can just experiment with less damage, less CC, not more CC. Because you actually have a character that can kind of function in that range. I really think giving him 25 HP more, doing some of the minor perk fixes that Aerithal was talking about, and then kind of dealing with his gradient, just gives him a stronger identity, and then also would definitely dramatically increase his performance, which I know we're not worrying about balance, but like then we'd actually have like a lot of things to kind of deal with, and then we can kind of worry about the crowd control. Like probably right off the bat, you could nerf the crowd control duration back to what it was prior to the recent midseason patch, just right off the bat there, so... Old right-click perk to base kit? I don't like that. I don't like Fan the Hammer, man. I don't see in what world that this actually works in perk. It was cancer in Overwatch 1, it's cancer in Overwatch 2. It's useless 99% of the time. Because you're like, well, we could just nerf Fan the Hammer damage. Yeah, but then when would you ever use Fan the Hammer then? We won't put thought into it today, but if somebody can tell me what you could do with Fan the Hammer to make it different than primary fire without making it do more damage, I'm very open to it. Maybe something like when you're at one bullet, using Fan the Hammer automatically reloads your weapon, or something stupid that breaks the laws of physics. Like, I don't know. Maybe Fan the Hammer does full damage no matter what amount of ammo you have. I don't know. Like, but I wouldn't really put a lot of thought into it. Echo time. Echo. Okay, this one is gonna be tough because I'll give a quick disclaimer. Some of my thoughts of this character are gonna be in contrast to what they've done with her recently, but I will admit that she can maybe earn the 225 HP. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. I think they should make her 250 HP. I think they should make her 250 HP, and then they can untighten the spread again, and maybe even nerf the damage of stickies or something. I actually like the concept of base movement speed with beam just a little bit, but I can understand that people wouldn't like that very much. Basically, since they've done the flight changes with her, I'm like, oh my gosh, this character feels so much better to play. Why haven't we done this sooner, right? But if they made her 250 HP with all that she has now, she's going to do too much damage from range. I mean, look at this, right? Like, that's insane, right? Training bot or not. But she's like too pokey now, and it's fine now because she's 25, but I would love 250 with the shields that she has. Buff her projectile speed or buff her percentage by 0.48. Yeah, see, we're kind of on the same page, Fluffy Atreus. I'm saying that we don't need to buff her her projectile speed if you can get closer to targets with 25 more health. You get what I'm saying? 1 second CC perk traits are flighting life for a root. I don't know if I would give her a root or anything, but I see what you're saying. See what you're saying. Like, if instead of projectile speed, just make it so that you're closer to the target, so the projectile speed is effectively already there. I think the shields are good. I think the flight movement speeder is amazing. I like kind of what they've done with some of her perks. I think partial scan is good. I think focus rush is fine. I don't know how I feel about elimination resets, and more sticky bombs is like pretty rough. But I don't know if you could do crouch though, because crouch is what you need to descend. I don't think you could do bind anything to crouch. Well, okay, so let's focus on major perks, guys. Let's focus on major perks. I think minor perks are okay. Especially focus rush could actually be legitimately okay if we got it to 250, because it would see a lot more uses, because you would be at the HP where you could actually do that. The big ones, I think, are the majors. You have an elimination base one, and then one that just is unbelievable damage that was bad until they just had it more damage. Copy your own teammate. They already had that. Wasn't great. Now, we don't need major perks to be super strong, because you could just buff the base. I mean, I'm just saying perks in general. It doesn't have to be a strong perk, so maybe copying your own teammates is fine, as long as the other perk is equally strong in terms of not that strong. More damage to enemies below 40% HP. Well, then we already don't have a lot of reasons to use beam as it is, so I would be careful of that. Shield regen on beam damage. That's a good idea. You'd have to kind of tweak the numbers there, but that definitely leans into 250 a little bit. And before you're like, oh, but that would be cancer for tanks. We're taking away full salvo with the stickies, right? That's even worse for tanks. Reload on barrier damage. Yeah, okay, so we I wouldn't say we undercooked there, but we couldn't quite figure it out. But I really like maybe something with reloading, or I don't know. I'm not so sure. I really like the shield regen on beam damage though. I feel like I keep saying hands dirty with many of these things, but the reason why I say that is because the game has they have consciously moved many characters in the cast more to being more glass cannon. And I've completely disagreed with that design choice with many of the characters especially. So if you hear me say getting hands dirty, start like the two like that I think that they've with Lifeweaver, with Wuyang, with Moira, with Mercy, with Echo, with Sojourn, with Cassidy. These are characters they have made more bursty and just I don't like it. So yeah. Remote detonation of stickies. Press again to detonate. That would be interesting, but difficult. That's definitely more design space that you could explore, though. Yeah. I think the way that I look at it with Echo is like, could we have a perk that slightly adjusts how you use your combo, you know? Because a lot of it's just kind of spamming fire and just hitting stickies and spamming more fire. Yeah, so I feel like this is why I like the HP regen on beam, because it's like we just don't use the beam enough, man. Like, it's not like knowing the good timing. Like, that used to be, that's not as important right now. And I would love to see more of that done, you know? So I think the HP or shield regen is a good idea. Yeah, okay, we'll do a bonus. Bonus, other major perk, more movement-focused tech, etc. I think Echo is... I don't think she's a fine character, but I do think that she is, like, definitely one of the more boring dive DPS that we have, because she lacks a lot of the dynamism that characters like Genji, Tracer, or even Sombra have, because she is pretty, I won't say easy, she's not easy at all, but she's pretty one-dimensional with how she approaches a lot of her duels, and I think that there's a distinct lack of I mean, freaking Lifeweaver has a lot more tech than Echo, you know? Thoughts on the grading? I'll give it a C+, B-. I really do like the beam damage. I'm gonna give myself a B-, because I think 250 Titan spread damage and the shield regen on beam damage is good. I just wish we had more ideas with movement and tech. Okay, let's get Freja started. This one's gonna be spicy. This is just yet another one of those. This one they have an excuse that this is how she was designed. I saw somebody the other day say that, like, you know, you gave feedback to the devs that this was not gonna work with the 2-tap, and that they said it couldn't work. No, I want to be very clear. My feedback to the developers was after the playtest. Once she had been live, I was asking, is it possible this character could have existed without a 2-tap? And I was told, probably not, no. Now, I'm not saying if you criticize that, and I'm going to criticize that. I want to see that explored. I'm not saying it's stupid that they think that, of course. I think if you take away the 2-tap, it's gonna be pretty challenging to make her work. What I'm saying is that that's what we're gonna be putting emphasis on now. Okay? Putting emphasis on that right now. Okay, let's get our let's timer started, and we will go. 3, 2, 1, bam. I think right off the bat, 250 HP, 120 per bolt. Or 110 per bolt. That 110 would be a huge nerf. 120 would be also a huge nerf, but it needs to be like right off the bat. Just right off the bat. 120 or 110 bolt. So basically we're removing the 2-tap immediately. And then we're going to buff every single other aspect of her character. Here's why. I think what makes Freja unique is her ranged pressure, which will remain good with 110 or 120. However, the concept of a character with multiple mobility cooldowns and the ability to dodge around is something that, I mean, that's we don't really have that. We already have so many characters that can 2-tap you or 1-tap you across the map, right? Even Ashe now can do that. So why not lean more into this mobility-focused mindset more? The reality is that a lot of Freja's mobility, not all of it, obviously, but a lot of her mobility is kind of wasted just to set up shooting more and doing more damage from range. I mean, the effective range of Freja is generally pretty long. I think that's just unexplored distance here. I always could wonder maybe the 2-tap could save at least one of the bullets here was a headshot. I mean, of course, like if you get a headshot here, let's look at the damage with that, right? That's good. Sure. If you get the headshot, yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. So you could maintain it if you hit the headshot, right? It's a double body shot that kills it. So here's what I'm thinking here. I think that the quick dash distance increase I think if you do a directional input, we could add that base kit. So part of her problem with moving around is that the quick dash distance isn't very far. And there's already so many other reasons to use your quick dash to just to do damage and not to move around. Maybe we give you a bit more reward by giving that base kit, right? So that's probably one of those 250 HP needed earned things. The other thing that you guys have heard me talk about was using abilities during ult. This is such a no-brainer. This ult is so unbelievably inconsistent, even at the highest level, when it's because just being locked in an animation. So you have an ult that benefits immensely from proximity because it's easier to land, but forces you to lock in and not move to do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, especially with how frequently it comes up. It's how much of her kit revolves around making her ult work, and then you just can't make it work. It's just an egregious oversight. Now, from an overtune perspective, yeah, they couldn't have done that up until recently without breaking the character, making her OP. But it's just broken. And then, yes, they need to put updraft back on 10 seconds. Especially now that they've reduced or nerfed the stalling, just sitting in the skybox for like forever. Now that they've reduced that a lot, they can afford to give it back to 10 seconds again. You don't like her ult charge passive whatsoever? Yeah, I understand that, but then if we make the ult more consistent to land, then it just needs to be more like a pulse bomb, you know, like something that's really, she's basically going to have it every fight, and then you can ult track around that and just make it more consistent to land. The problem is that it's really hard to nerf Freya's ult or buff it because it's so incredibly inconsistent. Like, it is so incredibly good when it hits a one. I mean, that's insane, right? But how many times is that going to happen? It's impossible to balance around that, you know? At least with Tracer's pulse bomb, it's impossible to balance, kind of, sort of, but it is, if you're good enough, you can land every one. Freya is not a skill check off of you. It's a skill check off of the enemy team 95% of the time. And that's the difference between, see, that people are like, oh, but that's the difference between pulse bomb. And if you're like, okay, well, I don't like the ult chart passive, sure. I think there's anything to do to make it absolutely horrible for Echo Pharah to play into, especially if you buffer 250. I mean, in that situation, it's just easier to maneuver around Freya without instantly getting 2-tapped. Like, remember, removing 2-tap means that I can do 1, 2, and you don't die. That's in theory, right? So you just not being able to disengage and play around that more consistently, I think is important. I don't know. I want to see Freya with that. I want to see Freya with longer distances, 250 HP, 10-second updraft, being able to use abilities during ult and see what happens. Shorten dash cooldown if you use dash without using your ult right click. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll put that in the bonus one because that one came afterwards. It's an interesting idea. What do you guys think? Is this... Oh, man. I'm going to put unsolved because I'm not really sure. Unsolved, tank, untouchability. I feel like a lot of the tank matchups feel bad versus her because you just can't do anything to her. Like, you can't touch her and she does an unbelievable amount of damage. And if we nerf take aim by 130, you know, to 120 by 20, like, that definitely helps tanks a little bit, but that definitely helps supports more, right? So your DPS is not going to take too much of a hit on tanks, and yeah, I'm glad that they removed the slow. Wait, you're talking about the primary fire has bloom? Wait. Kata might be cooking. Hang on. Sorry, we gotta stay. We're staying a little bit past here. Oh, frick. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Dude. That is actually something that we should definitely explore here. Bonus big. Look at spam spread. Doesn't hurt versus tanks. Hurts versus squishies. More buffing space to be found. Okay, so basically here's the thought. Anything that we can buff with Freya that doesn't dramatically... that doesn't A, make her unplayable as a tank, or B, lean into 2-tap, we should do, or should look into. Because if we were like, let's say that tightening the spread or reducing how bad the spread gets after the first 10, 12 shots, whatever, if we nerfed that, or buffed it, right, made it better, then that it means that we can take away something else. Because we can take it away now. Because if we're like, oh, that makes her 0.4% better, or 2%, 3% better, or whatever, well, then we can take away how much damage your primary fire does. We can take away, I mean, anything, right? We could put updraft, reduce updraft's verticality, or I would be careful with that, actually. You could do all sorts of things. So you can actually you can actually shoot and win 1v1s with your gun without just using your updraft. I mean, heck, we could do that. And if that helps her in duels, like then we could incorporate that with the other person's idea where dash has a reduced cooldown with no bolt, right? And then just make dash's cooldown slightly longer. Or reduce her ammo, or reduce her ammo and up. I mean, there's all sorts of things, right? Because like tanks are the ones that benefit or suffer from big clips. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. This is why we wanted to do 4 minutes with DPS, because we knew that we'd go off on a tangent. Yeah. We don't have to solve every character. We're not going to solve every character. This is just a quick fix idea thing. These are just more ideas to experiment with and to explore. And I think that that was a great idea. Great call, Kata. Genji. No, we're gonna skip Vendetta for this. Too soon for Vendetta. And obviously, yeah. Okay. Genji time. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go. First things first. Reduce, deflect, cooldown, backed. You frickers. It feels so bad. The gameplay loop of 8 years of muscle memory. We have to be careful with what we do with Genji, guys. How are we feeling about the project? Okay. I need my thoughts from Genji players out there. How are we feeling about the projectile size change? Would you prefer more reversions to that, or would you prefer more ammo? I think we probably should look into damage boosted blade, because remember, we can't just dump Genji buffs. This character has crazy pick rate. Yeah, we have to be careful. Okay. Bit of reversion on projectile projectile size. Okay. So then what? Are you okay with nerfing damage then? What has to go? More ammo? Reward you more for canceling deflect early? No, I don't think so. I think deflect is fine as is, if we could revert it to 8 seconds. What do we do? How do we stop Nanoblade, bro? How do we stop Valk Blade? How do we stop Wuyang Blade? Or not even Wuyang Blade. I don't want projectile speed to be slower. I think projectile speed is really important. It's one of the best changes they've made. Not damage boostable. I mean, I guess. Is that intuitive, though? At least with Hanzo, it's like a different thing, but it feels weird to not be able to damage boost Blade again. That would feel so unintuitive. I just don't. Maybe you just have to do it. I don't know. I think the lowest hanging fruit is just 8-second deflect, man. 8 second deflect. Can we slow Blade swing speed? I don't think so. No. 3 ammo back on dash is an interesting idea, but I don't think we have the design space. I don't think we have the design space to be able to buff that without nerfing something else. It just doesn't feel like a huge priority with the character, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely I'm mediocre. There's too many ideas in my chat, and too many of these ideas, if followed through, would just buff the absolute giga cheeks out of the character. I think Genji is one of the more honest DPS to have meta, so I'm not super concerned if he's strong. But like, I don't know. There's just not a lot that you can buff for this character, man. You can't do everything. You know, like, so what's gonna be the takeaway, you know? No. Okay. Good. It's fine. It's fine. I know not everyone's gonna be happy because every single Genji main I've spoken with has like 4 or 5 pet rework ideas that they want to do, and it all involve buffing the cheeks out of Genji. The character's just not bad. He just isn't bad. And you also have to keep in mind as well that you're like, if you're like, oh, low skill characters beat Genji, like the entire point of this project is that we're doing these things not in a vacuum, or we're doing things within the context of like literally every other change here, right? So Genji's life is going to get a whole lot easier when Moira has to aim a little bit more, you know? Okay, Hanzo. Oh man, I don't want to do Hanzo, dude. I think I would literally rather do Widow. Frick, dude. Oh! 3, 2, 1, go. I have no idea. No freaking idea. One shot sucks, but you take away one shot, the guy has nothing. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like having utility arrows, because I do think it's a good idea, but that would take a lot of time and a lot of thought to figure out. You guys have been very helpful, but I'm not really loving the Hanzo ideas in my chat right now either. No offense. Can't one shot 250, but can one shot 225. Yeah. The only thing that I can think of is that reduce the movement penalty on induction, because that's part of what makes Storm Arrow so broken in 1v1s, and is this, but also the fact that he has no movement penalty at all. So it's like, do we really need the movement penalty anymore in Overwatch 2? Do we like have to, like, he's so freaking like risky reward. Like it means he can't get his hand. That's why he can't get his hands dirty. is because he's so freaking vulnerable when he's inducting a shot. So it's like the Bastion thing all over again. I think that's some design space that we could explore there. I talked about like doing his ult where he has double dragons that do less damage and that have like they move faster. And then do it again, and then you can dash and do it again, you know, and you can put 2 different dragons in 2 different spots, but they do less damage and they're not as long in duration, so like you can control more space. I don't know, maybe, but like I don't even want to think about the ult that much. Delete Storm Arrow. I mean, you can't though. Like I know it's because he has nothing else in his kit. I think our cop outs is going to be we need to look at utility. You need to look at utility, more creative ways of using his arrows, but it's going to be like the Mercy cop out where I know the direction that I'd like to go, but I don't know what I would do just yet. Like, surely there are other bow and arrow characters in other games that have interesting utility and stuff, right? Like, I don't want to... Surely, right? Like, Sonic works. Sonic is fine. I mean, I think the duration... The hack is kind of ridiculous, but Sonic is fine. I just think movement speed penalty, some form of combo potential like Hawkeye and Rivals, which I think is a much more interesting version. Leave Sonic. I wouldn't mind if Storm Arrow was a lower cooldown, but... by like a second, but it had fewer bullets. So like maybe it's just like something that you use in your combos occasionally, like pop, 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 like 3 bullets, and then that's it. I don't know. Yeah, I've always struggled with Hanzo, guys. I'm not gonna lie. All I can think is that idea wouldn't work. That idea wouldn't work. I'm just crapping down people's ideas, but I think the only thing I have that I like is the movement speed penalty and induction. I mean, it's something. It's something. It's something. I think just simply removing the movement penalty or reducing the movement penalty drastically. What is the movement penalty right now? It's really harsh. 30%. Reducing it to like 10%. Or just removing it and, I don't know, 10%, sure. And then something gives us some design space, I guess. Yeah. Right. He has a right click, you know, that he doesn't use. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to switch. It wouldn't be like multiple quivers. You're going to swap between different arrows. I don't know if I like the idea of like, oh, you have an alternate fire and a primary fire. I think it would be like more like if we gave him a utility arrow, it would be like a cooldown. You use it like Sonic. Maybe you just tap it and it's just like a pop. It just automatically fires or something. It does something. Yeah, reload. I think like your normal bread and butter is just kind of shooting your arrows and then occasionally fire a Sonic arrow. Okay, finally pop, pop, pop with your Sonic or your Storm arrow. And then, okay, and then we're going to use a burning arrow or you know, something along those lines. Alt fire our cooldown arrow or something. Just make it more fluid, man. This guy needs to be so freaking fluid. Anyway, yeah, okay. Junkrat. Junkrat, I think, let me give a quick disclaimer. I think we're going to kind of miss the mark a little bit with this guy because I've talked with like Lucio and some of the other Junkrat mains, and I think we've cooked before, so I feel like I'm going to be disappointed watching this back and be like, dude, I forgot that we talk about this, or we talked about this, because I think we've had a lot of really good ideas with Junkrat in the past. I just can't remember them right now. So let me get my socks on and we'll do Junkrat. All right, here we go. Let's get our timer started. 3, 2, 1. He's too spammy. He's too spammy, means very low skill floor. He's also really bad because spamming is just really bad in Overwatch 2, so he's annoying while also being bad. I would love Lucio to spam what he's thought. One thing first that we've talked about Lucio is the forced 45-degree angle on mine movement, which means that you're kind of limited with the mine movement that you do because you can't really like, let me kind of demonstrate this really fast. You can't really like launch yourself at direct angles because if you just like, let's jump off here and you throw, I'm so stupid. But like, I'll demonstrate right here. This is always going to force you up. Where it should be that like if you're directly over the target, it forces you up, maybe even straight up. But if you get the angle right, it can just force you laterally forward, but it doesn't do that. It locks you in that 45-degree angle, which severely limits the movement capability of the character. Right, frag cannon on base, which is basically his major perk that gives him slightly faster projectile speed. So we still want Junkrat to feel very much like a projectile, but it needs to have the base. It needs to be fewer bullets, faster projectile speed, more consistency. And that way it still looks amazing when you hit skill shots. Like it does. I mean, that's so much better, right? But that just needs to be base kit. Less ammo, faster projectile, frag cannon. Yeah, frag cannon, base kit, forced 45 on mines. Bounce works like Sigma, doesn't bounce twice. 1 bounce. Yeah, we've talked about trap as well. Longer throw distance, faster arming time, less duration probably would be fine. That would be the trade. We've talked a lot about reworking trap into like some sort of like flamethrower or combo stick, but for quick fix, I'm going to challenge us to not remove trap and just to make trap work as bad as it is. But we're aware that trap sucks. I 100% agree. I think somebody being able to throw it in different spots would be nice because it's what they failed to do with Roadhog's trap. Because it doesn't, being able to throw it in different spots gives you more like map control and rewards better like skill knowledge and so on. And then if you did that, well, then you could just nerf the, I mean, how long is trap right now? 2.5, you can nerf it to like 1.5 seconds. You can nerf it to 1 second. It's not even that important for Junkrat's kit, right? It's not a large portion of his strength mana is spent in traps, so you could just make it more consistent, make it a little bit weaker, and just, yeah. Slow plus bleed rather than complete movement stop. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know how Lukaku feels about it. Slow plus movement speed. I mean, it would be a more consistently useful thing, but I don't know. You can trigger it if you're closest to the wall to trigger it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Detonate trap? Question mark? Like break the trap so it does a bit of explosion. It would be a much weaker explosions than some of our other things, for sure. Because the problem with mines used like that is I like mine more as a combo tool and more for mobility. One other thing that I would like the idea of a charged primary fire for even greater distance. I don't know if it's a perk or whatever, but you can hold down, like we did with the Zarya thing, you hold down and it goes even faster projectile speed. So just even slightly, like, I don't know, like 20, how fast does this travel? I guess it doesn't really say. But just even faster. But that would be a perk, and it would basically just extend the base kit version that we have by a little bit. 25 meters per second, right? I don't know what it's like with the perk, though. Well, I assume that's what you're saying, but yeah. So you just charge up and go, pop! And it would be really bad for combos, but it would allow for, like, some finishing shots on, like, range targets. Because you could do, like, pop, pop, and you get the Pharah, and you stop shooting, you charged up, pop! You know, that would be sick. So, yeah. Okay, I think we remembered most of what we talked about. We didn't talk as much about Riptire, but it's fine. I mean, it's still really strong in certain situations and not strong in others, but there's a lot. I don't think we want to remove Riptire. There's so much tech and fun with it. It's like feels hard. Okay, let's go. You guys ready for me? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. We had all the perk fixes. Speed spray, burst on leaving ice block instead of just the AoE DOT. Oh yeah, the boulder roll, right? Ice block boulder like stadium, but reduced no boop,
so for May,
shrunk in size.
I
don't want May ult to freeze faster. I would like the ult to just have a base buff to May. So if you guys don't know, the skating rink idea is one of my ideas that they incorporated into the game. And I like it a lot. Problem is that it's just an ult perk that isn't super strong. And so, especially in comparison to other perks in the game. But I love the concept of just Blizzard doing something different, you know, and being more team buff. I think that's really cool. I would like that even base kit maybe, but you know, then we have like perk problems. Maybe even just giving her base kit regen or base kit speed, and then you can further enhance that with skating rink or something. Yeah. More damage and ult, yeah, maybe. Remove freeze perk 100%. I hate the freeze perk. It's so gimmicky. It's so bad in so many circumstances. Yes, she has the freeze perk. It's stupid. Huh! Wait, what if... Wait. What if freezing somebody puts an ice crystal on them? Wait, the hazard perk. You guys know it? And then, you get me? Puts an ice crystal that you detonate with your alt fire. It's a combo. So that's what freeze does. You could even nerf the slow further. How much is the slow to like 10%? Season 5 May? Was that a thing? Was it bad? It might have been bad. Was it OP? It sucked? Well then, what if we increase the range or reduce the slow? Like, well, hang on. Why did they not like it? Well, you would not nerf the slow, obviously. And you would have to tighten the spread of May freeze as well. How did you consume the... Hang on. How did you consume the buff? Like how did you burst the thing? How did that work? Because you guys are like, oh, they already did that. But I don't... Did they? With right click or melee? Okay, so you did consume it with this. Because people made it... Because it made the slow ramp up. Well, duh. Why would you make the slow ramp up? No. That's not what I want. Okay, revert Season 5, I guess, combo potential, but Titan spread or shrink hitbox on primary fire, like that shouldn't be hitting. You know, it should be, if you're skilled enough, you can get the combo going, and that's a good way of comboing people. But if you're like, well, I don't have time to do that, well, then you just go for the tap. I don't know. Maybe it's bad. Maybe there's not really a reason to go for a combo when you can just 2-tap people. I don't know. It's designed to be an AoE beam, though. Yeah, but can't you see why that's a problem in Overwatch 2? Like, AoE abilities are just, they just don't work in Overwatch 2. Every AoE, we've basically had to rework almost every AoE ability in Overwatch 2 because of that. Right, Doomfist, freaking Mauga's Cardiac, Rein's Shield. I can literally go down the list here. Either characters that are too strong or too weak as a result of their reliance off of AoE. Okay, anyway, Pharah time. We ready for Pharah? Pharah? I don't know, man. Don't think Pharah needs much. Now, I remember we fixed DPS, and I think we talked a lot about Pharah, and they did a lot of the things that I asked for. I think that they gave her, shoot, what did they give her? They gave her a lot of, like, more movement speed with flight. They gave her, like, the whole shield concept that we talked about. They did a lot of our ideas for Pharah. I don't know if it was just subsequently or they were watching my videos or what, because it was a long time ago. But they did a lot of things that we asked for. I don't remember all those ideas. I need to go back and watch the video, but for the challenge, we're not watching it. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. I don't know. What does she need, bro? I think her projectile speed is probably fine. It's faster than it used to be, which is great. I don't know if I want to buff it any further. Does she need anything? Remove self-damage. Yes, agreed. Remove self-damage. It is just, you should be rewarded for rocket jumping. It's inconvenient, it costs you ammo, and it requires mechanics. You have to know that there's the stuff. You should be rewarded without being shot, especially because it clashes with helix shields, with the whole shields thing, which you shouldn't be screwing up your shields because you freaking shot yourself. Bring back the suck perk. Maybe. I don't know. That might have just been a must pick, though. I don't know. It was a cool idea for, like, combos, and it definitely was transferable. I don't think it was a bad perk, but nerf AoE. I mean, the AoE's not that strong anyway, right? Maybe 80 is still too high. Yeah, maybe. Nerf AoE a tiny bit. Because she's still performing really good. We could give her, if we buff something else, we could definitely give her a tiny bit of a nerf everywhere else. You don't think Pharah needs shield on base? Yes, but if she does need love in the future, it's absolutely a low-hanging fruit that they could do. But I agree, she moves a lot snappier than Echo, or certainly has a lot more movement. Maybe that's it. Maybe just remove self-damage, and then nerf the AoE a tiny bit. I wouldn't mind a lower dash cooldown would be nice if more buff available. I think, like, I know she has a lot of movement available, but, like, I don't know, maybe it's fine. Maybe 8 seconds would be nice instead of 9. Higher dash cooldown, but 2 charges? Maybe. I mean, she already has so many buttons as it is, though. I think it's okay. The ability to cancel ult. Yeah, that's a good shot. Pretty big buff, but again, buffs are not really a concern because she has enough design space to where we can nerf a lot of things about her without trashing her design. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Abilities and ult, maybe? Too strong, I think. Probably too strong. You could do that, but you would have to nerf the damage of her ult, I think, by a lot, because it would just increase the consistency of your ult by a lot. It'd be really strong. It's not like High Noon where, like, oh, the roll, because it's like it takes time to ramp. It's like so big burst. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm literally gonna stop the timer there. Frick it. I'm taking my 30 seconds of rest. All right, are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh frick, we did all the perk fixes, which was like some of the tweaks that they did to some of his teleport and stuff like that. So a lot of it would just be about, like, bringing dire triggers in sooner in Shadow Blink, and then I think having a different teleport perk that does the longer one, and you can choose between the two. And then come on, revert the Wraith speed, man. What the frick? They did that because they wanted to give him lingering Wraith, but I feel so bad that you have to choose that. And why is Orb still a thing? Why is Orb still a thing? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Like, they're like, I know, oh, but we love the pickup. They're literally nerfing his win rate in low ranks by doing that. And just, they know it. They know it. They don't give a frick. Oh, the timer, frick. All right, we'll have to stop at 3. Fly in Wraith form base kit, probably too strong. I wouldn't mind flight control during ult, though. That'd be kind of funny. What do you guys think? No fly in Wraith form, but a slight jump at the end like Moira. Well, that probably makes him too unpunishable, especially given a lot of the teleport things and the fact that we want them to revert the Wraith speed change. I want them to Wraith speed change back to normal. I'd rather have that than the Moira little jump, personally. Because if they gave him the little jump at the end, they'd have to leave the Wraith speed as is, because it'd be too unpunishable. Wraith during ult, but with like an 80% reduced duration. You could do that, yeah. Could be. We can make the ult more consistent, but you have to be careful about how much you buff it a little bit. But I guess you could just nerf the damage, but then I don't know how much further could you nerf the damage. Just don't give crazy iframes in the upgraded TP. It's the only thing that's annoying. That's true, yeah. You like just lifesteal Wraith perk? I didn't hate that either, honestly. I thought it was okay. It definitely changed how the way you took engagements a little bit. It just wasn't super strong, but it doesn't need to be super strong necessarily. It's just the problem is that its competition was too strong. Maybe Dire Triggers needs to be base kit. And then just have Wraiths leaving Wraith form, and then grants movement speed, leaving Wraith form, grants lifesteal, Shadow Blink, and then the long TP. So you have 2 Wraith forms and 2 teleport perks. Because Dire Trigger's base kit would help with a little bit with its consistency, and then you just have teleports and Wraiths fighting. No, not most of his perks, just 1 perk. And you would definitely need to nerf. See, the thing is they nerfed Wraith form in anticipation of the other minor perk, but then they made the other minor perk, Lingering Wraith, 40% movement speed. Not 20, not 10, not 30, but 40. And then they made its competition like actual butt cheeks. So it's not like, oh, well, you couldn't buff Wraith again because then it'd just be too strong with the combination with the perk. Well, why does the perk have to be, okay, we got to stop the timer there. Why does the perk have to be 40% movement speed? And its competition garbage, you know? So, yeah, there's some things. I think Reaper's a lot better than he used to be. I think that's another character that's like reworked, has been like pretty good. Little things that they've done, but I feel like they cooked with the teleport juke perk, but then they realized it was a bit overtuned and the character as a whole is overtuned. And then they like reversed course in the wrong direction, kind of overcorrected. And I think there's been a lot, they've just never really finished his rework, I think, as you guys pointed out. Like there's been like whispers of like little tweaks, and I mean, we've been talking about stuff like a little bit of flight during ult, or Wraith during ult, or movement speed during, like we've talked about this stuff, even stuff like Dire Trigger. Like we've had these conversations for like, I won't even say 3 years, it might have been 4 or 5. Like these things have been part of the Overwatch discourse. Sorry, I'm putting a heating pad in my back. Sojourn. It's time. This is going to be cathartic. This is going to be angry. This is going to, it's time. I'm so ready to throw hands. All right, you ready? I'm gonna get on my soapbox for 4 minutes. If you guys have legitimate ideas, save them towards the end, because I probably won't be reading chat for a few minutes. 3, 2, 1. She can't function as a burst character. That's it. She cannot function as a burst character. The whole identity of having a railgun being this big burst of damage is fine. We can absolutely find ways to work into that, but you have to nerf railgun, and then you need to reduce the delay between railgun and primary fire. This weaving that we talked about with Freja is horrific with Sojourn, and such that your rail has to be your finishing blow, as you guys can see, otherwise you're fricked in duels, which completely screws her gameplay loop. What needs to be done if you want to have the finality of a rail, and you need to maintain that delay to make the character feel correctly, I hate that excuse, by the way, is you need to have the amount of delay after the rail scale based off of the rail charge that you use. If I fire rail at 35, it should not have the same delay as having rail at 100. That way, if you want to build up your rail for a more burst damage, which, by the way, should still probably be lower, right? Then that's fine. However, you shouldn't be punished for weaving in rails when you're doing 1v1 at lower HPs, because the whole concept of using your rail interchangeably depending on the charge, your gun gets more, bam, right? But if I just use it here, why do I have a freaking full half a second of pause? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It completely takes any nuance and thought out of using when to use rail and makes the character so much more of impossibility to actually design correctly. Literally cannot balance it around this. And if anybody says otherwise, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You just cannot balance around the fact that pro players are going to do this. You just can't balance around the fact, and the only thing you can do is something along my lines. I'm sorry, and I've failed to see them make any progress with this character at all whatsoever. They need to do this. And then she needs 250 HP back. Now you're like, oh, wait, 250 HP? Shut the frick up. They can nerf rail damage even further if they want to. I don't care. Nerf it even further. Tighten her primary fire more. Make it travel a little bit faster. I think her primary fire is probably okay as is. I don't think it needs that many more tweaks, but it is more design space you could kind of work for. But the whole concept of my initial idea was Sojourn from her launch was a more mobile, a more bursty, with a little bit of verticality and horizontally, Soldier 76. With rail functioning as that burst cooldown, the difference between rail and Helix is just that it's more consistent and more mechanical. That's fine. That would be a lot of fun to play. So 250 HP. Let her delay on primary fire scale based off of the rail that she fires it at. Maybe make the delay longer than it is now, or maybe just leave it as it is now and just scale down depending on what charge she is. And then you have so much design space to work around. Other thing that needs to go is overcharge. Is ridiculous. Overcharge has to go. Overcharge has to go. It's not just OP. It's ridiculous to have a character that just all of a sudden one-shot every other character in the lobby. It's just stupid. It's not just, it's OP, but it's not even the most OP perk in the game. It's just game breaking. There's stronger minor perks in the game, but it's game breaking. Why are we doing this? Why are we leaning into this? I thought that the whole point is we moved away from this. And don't say, oh, well, she has to have the burst damage from rail, otherwise she can't perform. Shut the frick up. That is not true. That is not true. And the more that you lean into that delay after prime, this is why lower rank players can't play her. It's too inconsistent. Just breaks the rules. In terms of disruptor shot, I think it's mostly fine. You could argue that it probably, I mean, the visuals I won't talk about. The visuals are like just terrific now. You could argue that maybe the cooldown's a little too long right now. Maybe it does a little bit too much damage. Maybe you could use it more, like being able to kind of weave it in. Like one of the things that when it was a slightly lower cooldown, you could do stuff like this, you know, and kind of weave it into your duels. Right now, you can't really use it for, well, you can use it for duels. It's just very punishing. It's a 15-second cooldown, so I would say reduce the cooldown on that as well. So, okay, No, I just ranted, yelled, yapped. Any thoughts? We'll do bonus thoughts here. That one was not as much of a team issue. Or I was not very a team player there. Kind of just yapped. Make rail fall off way more strict? Yeah. Bonus. If nerf, make rail fall off more strict. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous how crazy forgiving rail fall off is. Do you guys want to know what rail fall off is? 40 to 60 meters, guys. 40 to 60 meters. 40 to 60 meters, bro.
I'm on my game now.
Insane. It's almost Widowmaker fall off range. Why does this character that looks like this have a 40 to 60 meter fall off range? I hate this idea that we can't have glass cannon characters like Sojourn. Why would I want a different flavor of Soldier? Just nerf her range a bit and that's it. I completely disagree. I mean, you're more than welcome to your opinion. I think that she's a complete caricature in her current state proves my point, where she is still played at the professional level for her burst with Suzu and so on, but is only played for her burst. The whole concept of a mobile hit scan and with sliding and burst mobility is not something that we have. The differences between Sojourn and Soldier are massive. Massive. It's not just, oh, another Soldier 76. No, not even close. It's completely... No, I'm sorry. I'm coming across a little bit heated with this one. You're being respectful. I need to be equally respectful. I guess my point being is that, like, the differences are very large, in my opinion. But, like, we can maintain burst damage, man. Like, it's still bursty. You know? And if anything, that's the whole point of my weapon, the whole point of my quote-unquote rework, is to allow her to maintain burst damage. You'd probably nerf it, but it's that if you want to charge up the rail and do this, you can still do that. I want her to be more short-ranged, but I don't want her to be short-ranged. No. I don't even want her to be more mouse 1 favored. I don't. I just want rail to be something that you can use at not 100 charge without being punished. My point being is that this isn't just about nerfing, nerfing. It's about allowing you to do rails not in different ways and not the same way every time. The only time that you're using rail at lower, basically every single time you use rail, it's a one-shot calculation. Is this target at a break? Because if you make the wrong calculation, well, then you've lost the duel. But you can't remove that without the hero fantasy of this big gun. Well, then we got work to do. So anyway, I won't go on. That's my thoughts. I'm not saying it's gospel. I know it's coming across that way. But it is something I've put a lot of thought into, and I would really like them to at least try. And it's been frustrating to me because it's clearly a character that's very problematic for them because she's so unbelievably bad in low ranks and mid ranks and so unbelievably good at the professional level. And they're trying. They've tweaked this character. I just don't. You can go on the wiki. Look at how many times that they've nerfed, buffed, nerfed, buffed, nerfed, buffed, nerfed, buffed, nerfed, buffed, nerfed, buffed, nerfed, buffed. Holy crap! This character so many times, and they've made zero headway. Okay. Soldier 76. I wonder if he should just get his stim base kit. I just think healing station doesn't work in Overwatch 2, man. Now, in terms of stim pack, I'm not saying the increased damage that I can stay in perks, but it just, you could even do it, you could even have it to where you can't do it while you're sprinting. I think you can do it while you're sprinting with your perk. You could do it where you have to stand still to do it, but it can follow you after you do it, so you stop, heal station, and then keep going. That's fine. But Soldier's strength is completely being a rat. It's his ratness. Repositioning is Soldier's strength. It is not dodging dives, right? And so this anchors him, right? So I think that you need to allow him to move frequently. If Soldier should not have burst mobility, Soldier should probably not even really have any more burst damage. I think his gun's fine. Helix is probably fine. Just the ability to move around more frequently. And that he's part of the reasons why he's tied into that with his base kit is that heal station right there. Yeah. So I think it just needs to be, if you want to do it while he sprints, maybe that's too strong. If you want to do it while he doesn't sprint, that's fine. You can stop, apply it, and keep going. But it needs to follow him. You need to be allowed to reposition more frequently with Soldier because that is his entire hero fantasy. That's his entire kit. Is that? I think honestly more than that. I think that's basically all he needs. Maybe reload. Yeah, maybe a reload base kit as well. That would be the only other thing. Reload base kit maybe, but maybe that makes the other perk redundant because the reload is just as important or almost as important as the sprint speed. And then yeah, we had some perk fixes ideas with rocket jump. Yeah, we did some perk fixes stuff with Soldier. I'm trying to remember all of them, but I think the rocket jump one was one. I don't think you buff Visor. I think Visor's like kind of meh, but it's somewhat consistent at least. You know what? If you want to buff Visor, one really easy thing to do. Check it out. What if Visor just, instead of, okay, we'll have to get rid of Tactical Salvo, but what if Visor just reset Helix or CDs like Genji? So you use it, there's more situations in which you can kind of use it on the fly. It's not, you know what I'm saying? That would be a good way to buff it. Make it more, it wouldn't make it stronger at what it already does necessarily. Just Visor, ignore fall off, I think would be broken though. I think just cooldown reset, at least a Helix reset would be fine. So you do like, bam, you know, gives you a little burst, it helps you in 1v1s. There's a bit of an opportunity cost. Major sprint perk giving more speed? I don't think so. I think it's okay, because if you give major sprint perk, he becomes almost unpunishable. It's like he's, I don't know, I think it's okay. If you don't like Visor, I understand. I just don't think that I haven't put enough thought into fixing it in the 5 minutes that we have, or 4 minutes, or whatever. Just lean into the things that work really well for him, which are the repositioning and so on, and just go from there. There's still a pretty long delay between activating Visor and being able to shoot rocket. Okay, also maybe address delay. I mean, maybe that's the other thing too. Like if you're like, you just pointed out a problem. I don't like that because I can't. Well, then why is the delay that long? That's an immediate buff to the ult. That doesn't necessarily break it. It just makes it more consistent. You know what I'm saying? There you go. You got it. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's good. That's our timer running out. That was good. That's good. We can cook with that. I like Soldier's just the repositioning guy. Makes him fun to coach, makes him fun to play too. You always kind of think about where would be the next good position to be, and if that kit kind of allowed you to do that more often, yeah. They turned Spylo into a nerd. Yeah. Okay. Cool stuff. Oh. All right.
In my world, there are no secrets.
5 minute fix. 5 minute fix. 5 minute fix. 5 minute fix. 3, 2, 1. I do think I'm a Questron agreeer with this one. I've had a lot of ideas of Sombra, some of them good, some of them bad. I haven't put a lot of thought into her in a long time. I mean, the biggest thing stylistically is that she needs more uptime, less burst, right? So I would be down for, I'm gonna say it, 250 HP. 250 HP, that's the classic fix. You could nerf virus damage right off the bat. 250 HP, nerf virus damage.
That's it.
I'm not going to go down the whole line of like hack as a skill shot or combining hack and virus. I don't know if I even agree with that anymore, and it's just way too much to think. She just needs more uptime. She needs to be a character that can impact the battlefield for longer periods of time, allows you to be more, you know, repositioning, strategic with your engages, and not just one-shotting people that don't know her. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're right there. I mean, I wouldn't even mind hack animation is shorter, but lockout is also shorter. I don't know. Maybe that would be cancer. But then you're like, I don't know. The whole concept of like hacking somebody, I don't know if I actually like that. Long term, I think that I don't like that at all, personally. But you could have like a half a second silence. Well, the lockout's kind of short. Well, okay. So you guys know how like I'm a parry guy? What if Sombra, you know how we like defensively having like a brief parry window rewards good timing? What if hack had something similar to that? Like, what if it was just easier to cast, but you had to like really get the timing right? Like, it's about more interrupting than it is about silencing. I don't know. So you could have it literally beat 0.1 seconds. It doesn't even matter. It's more about interrupting the thing. I don't know. There are not many interruptible abilities in Overwatch. Yeah, that's true. Okay, maybe we don't want to go down to the hack road. Maybe that's too much of a can of worms. 250, reduce virus damage. What is it at right now? 75, and then 105 or 145. You could nerf that by 25, 30, 40% even. Maybe you could even have it that you can't hack targets unless they're virused and make virus last longer, but it's just, I don't know, a longer DOT, but it does. Maybe you could let virus damage stay the same, but it lasts longer. So the DOT's spread out. Control Alt Escape. I've talked about this before. I really like Control Alt Escape as a base kit, yeah. But I don't know if I'd like that because she would basically just live in the backline 24/7, which she already kind of does, but I'm thinking more like a medium off angler kind of a guy. I don't know. Frick. Let's just start with 250 nerfing virus damage or draw out duration, more uptime, less burst. No idea. We'd have to think a lot more about it. There's no quick fix for Sombra. Involves a lot of cooking. The problem with Sombra has always been that there's never really a good strategy to hack at all, really. It's either something you don't use or something that you open with, and that's basically it. There's no mid-fight hacking or late-fight hacking because it's too easy to interrupt, takes too long to cast, and doesn't provide enough utility at that point in time unless you get lucky. So the concept of hack as an ability is exclusively a fight opener or you don't use it at all. And I don't want to hear in the comments, not you guys, but like some silver sword. Oh, well, actually, it's a skill that you know. It's not. You don't know what you're talking about. The ability just doesn't exist in the vast majority of circumstances. And then when it does, it's like the Sojourn. Oh, like doing this is insane. Like that, I just stopped shooting and he's almost dead, right? Like that's just insane. And that's on stealth from behind with them in console. It's even worse, right? Like they can't even turn around on time, right? So don't decouple stealth from Translocator. I actually agree that Translocator right now is in probably my favorite state ever. I know that's gonna be a hot take for people, but like it makes her feel so much more fluid. And I coached Sombra extensively back in the day at the professional level. I taught all sorts of contenders players how to play Sombra. I taught Overwatch League players how to play Sombra. And it's just not, yeah, the skill ceiling's there, I guess, but it is just not something that you want in the base game. You just don't want it. Because for every pro Sombra that's got this crazy translocator strategy, whatever, there are tens of thousands of bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond Sombra players that are just not engaged with the fight at all. I like playing Sombra. Sombra is one of my favorite characters to play. I'll prove it in Overwatch 2. You know, but it just, she's got problems, man. Symmetra. We actually talked about this recently, so this shouldn't take too long, I think. If Aerothal's here, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Sem. Nerf wall HP by 2,000. That's right, cut it in half. It needs to be breakable by more characters. I have a lot of thoughts about Sim wall as a concept. I don't really like it in Overwatch 2. I think it's too strong. Visually, it's ugly, and it's not. But I think it's fine. You could even buff cast time if you want. If you think that that's too harsh of a nerf, you could just buff cast time because you could iframe block stuff more often. We've done nerf TP HP by 50 or 100, lower ammo, reduce ammo, shrink orb size slightly, and slightly faster base. Yep. We did, what else did we do? Yes, turret perk is bad. And we introduce turrets during shooting. So you can use your turrets while you're shooting. And so this is multitasking, but also for those that know, it's parrying. It actually allows you to block abilities while you're shooting people if you get the timing right. How do you animate that though? I don't know. That's crazy. That's a great thought. I don't give a frick. Do it. I'm a spoiled content creator. I don't have to do any of the work, so I can just sit there and complain about things. Maybe she just like chucks out or something like that. I don't know. It's a very good point. Cytheria, thank you for the sub, but it's freaking cool, so I don't give a frick. I'm like Walt Disney, you know, this was freaking his sweat squad back in 1958. But Walt, we can't do that yet. I don't give a frick. Make it happen. You know, that's not what Walt sounded like, but I don't care. Make it happen. It's too cool. It's skillful. It's interesting. It's fun. Turrets shouldn't give wall hack. I disagree. Turrets should absolutely give wall hack. That's the best thing that they could possibly do for turrets. It's completely opened up her playstyle and options. If anything, turrets just need to do less damage or less slow. Less slow would probably be the easiest one. Less slow for turrets. I don't mind a little slow so that there is a lead. Because if you take away the slow entirely, there's probably like not enough reasons to turret on main. What's the percentage on the slow? 15%? All right, nerf it to 10. Final offer. 10% per turret. Oh, yeah, why? Why? Turret slow stacking needs to go. Why are we stacking turret slows? I don't like that. If you're getting 3 turrets on a target, that's already a reward enough for the damage. Or at least they should or introduce 20% ceiling or something. 15? Oh my days, yeah. Maybe a 30% ceiling then, or 25% ceiling or something. Like, you don't need plat players introduced, or silver players more encouraged to throw 3 turrets on a choke. You know? You gotta think outside the box, man. Remove TP regen perk? Dude, I like the regen on the TP. You're more burst damagey. I like the regen on the TP. Maybe it's too strong, maybe you need to nerf it. But I like more uptime on an angle. Personally. It also changes how you use teleport, because there's situations where you will use teleport and not even take it, just as a difference in cooldown. I think that's good. Anything that allows her to stay 275 HP is what I'm going to vote for. Right, if the TB can be killed, exactly. And you can obviously just nerf the 20 shields per second to 10 or 15. There's a lot of design space here. I think Symmetra being too hard to force out of an angle is a legitimate issue right now. I don't agree. I think it's fine if again, like Sarah said, if the HP is there. I don't like burst with Symmetra. She's like one of the last bastions of a non-burst gameplay, and like, yeah, it's probably overtuned, but they just tuned down that aspect while keeping her in that niche. 275 in regen is OP? I disagree. I mean, the scale of regen, maybe. She has like some of the weakest burst in the entire game. Make turret lower cooldown? You could. You would need to do the remove the slow stacking though before you do that though. Yeah, okay. I like some changes. I've thought about this. I'm not biased. I am perfect. I make no mistakes. Torb. Torb, I see you guys are already talking. Let's go and get the timer started here. I would just love to have a second turret. I think like if we talk about like fixes that would like instantly make people want to play him and want to try him, I would just love to have a second turret. By second turret, I don't mean another turret, 2 turrets out at the same time. I'm saying having a different turret that you can do for different situations. But I've never really been able to quite nail down what I want with that. I don't think a CC turret is good. I think the turret that he has now is exceptional at range. So I know it sounds goofy as all get out, but like a boop turret, like a turret with a little bit of damage, but like you could put it like up there, and if anybody turns that corner, it just boom, like it's like an air burst or something. Like basically the TLDR is that we have a turret right now that is really good at range and really bad at everything else. It's too easy to break and whatever. But but something that like isn't just like we don't want a slowing turret really. Maybe a landmine, like or a shotgun turret. I don't know. But I would like to have a turret that actually does. I know everyone doesn't like turrets, and I agree. But I think like it's part of Overwatch 1 Overwatch is just part of the character and personality. And if that's his hero fantasy, then let's go into the buildables. Just make them more skillful, more thoughtful, and choices that you have to make. You know, a support turret, sure. So I would just love whether it's a not necessarily a heal turret, please, but like a speed boost turret. That'd be the most final thing ever. A boop turret, shotgun turret, armor pack turret. That's not a bad. Oh wait, shoot. I remember thinking about this because I thought when Blizzard was interviewing me that they would ask me to rework a character, and I was thinking about Torb fixes, and I think I wanted to give him his armor back, but to do it like a single target armor pack. Remember how we were talking about like the Baptiste fix with his shift, like it's a single target heal over time that can give movement speed? I think I wanted to do that with armor, and you can do it on yourself, and I think it replaces overload. What about a rolling turret? I mean, that would be cool. Moving turret, so you can lead your angle with it, predict where it will be useful, then expires. Nah, I mean, you're free to have your opinion, but I would love, I like it. I would love to, like, let's have a character, if he wants to be a little bit of support, fine, give him a little bit of support. But you can do it on yourself too. So if you use your overload on yourself, then you're weaker. But it wouldn't be like attack speed, and it wouldn't be as much overhealth or whatever that he has now. It would be a relatively small thing, and it would be on a longer cooldown. And then what if I think we need to increase projectile speed and reduce fire rate as well. You need to feel more impactful. He's way too spammy right now. He's he's like the definitive spammy character, more so than even like a Junkrat, really. Maybe that's a bit of exaggeration, but he's very spammy. Yeah, I want to lean into his utility, man. I think there's a lot of exploration they could do, and you wouldn't need to do all of them. You could just do a few of them. Just do a few of them. You know, just try the armor thing, and then dude, I like that rolling turret idea, man. Like whoever the frick came up with that was pretty cool. You know, you could like lead it, and then it would go and it would like knock back people and do like a little bit of damage around them, and then it would hit a wall, and then it would expire or it would explode for like 60 damage, and that would be it. But that would cost you your turret cooldown. But you could like lead it, and then you could pack your teammate, and then you could fire, and then I don't know. Right now he's better than he used to be, but it really just kind of comes down to place your turret in an off angle, pop overload. And the only real nuance is whether you're popping overload to spam from a distance or whether you're saving it so you don't die. It's just not very interesting. I think like it's like the Hanzo thing where like we don't need 5 different turrets, but just going with like one additional utility option and seeing where that might go might be kind of fun. Trace time. All right, 3, 2, 1. She just needs perk nerfs, man. That's literally it. She just needs perk changes. We already did it. Perk fixes. Tracer, perk fixes. Nerf the new recall perk, but it's conceptually fine, I think. I do think it's actually fine. It just needs to be nerfed a bit. Can't take health packs on full HP. Revert or partially revert the spread change. It's stupid. Nerf or reduce recall back to 12 if need be, if she's still underperforming. And that's it. Like, I really think it's it. I think that's it. It's literally just perks and spread. And consider 5.5. 5.5 damage, nerf spread, or reduce spread. Nerf blink packs, nerf flashback, and then that's it. You could consider over ammo for other perk if need be, but I don't even know if that's necessary if you just nerf the health pack perk. She's fine. She doesn't need anything. She's great. She's Lucio, but with a very complicated, with perks that haven't been done quite as well. Venture's hard, man. Venture, did we do perk fixes for Venture? Does anybody remember? Give me a second. I'm gonna look up to see if we did perk fixes for Venture. The problem is that maybe the Venture shouldn't have range like this, but we have Covered in Dirt, which just isn't really all that good. So maybe a Smart Extender needs a slower fire rate when Venture's firing. That way you can still use it for shield. I mean, that is definitely whiplash there. Look at that hair. Range perk is great design. I'll never understand this take. I can't explain it for you if there is not a single highly mobile character that has range on that.
Well, Lube is still getting cooked in the past.
Are getting cooked or getting disagreed with. I don't. And so what's happening is that. Oh, I don't know what to do. Does Venture need anything? Venture just doesn't have like that high of a skill floor or a skill ceiling is the problem. Okay, we need to start the timer. I don't know. Everything flows pretty well. I think if we're gonna talk about anything, it's just gonna be like some minor nerfs, to be honest. Contest while burrowed, yeah, is dumb. That's true. 5-minute fix that haircut. Fix both majors. Dude, saying that Genji has the same range as Venture in that situation is so... Oh, come on. And tell me that Echo Sojourn have Venture's level of staging? Come on. Just because they can fly doesn't mean they have more mobility in actuality. Weaker ult perk and base kit would be great, but probably needs damage nerfs needs number nerfs. I don't think, when we're talking about Venture, I don't think I would nerf anything to do with HP or shields or sustain. Again, I just think it's really dangerous to have a melee-oriented character that is able to maintain a lot of burst, and it's too fragile. But like, there's like, you could just do like Drill Dash does slightly less damage, or Unburrow does slightly less damage, or Smart Excavator does slightly less damage, or has a slightly slower fire rate. Like, there's all sorts of like little things that they can nerf to make Venture a bit weaker. But I think getting shields will be done at hits. I know what you're saying, but I don't know. Like, I mean, it's important to me to like you coming out with full shields like that. We want Venture to have HP. Like, it's the same reason why Vendetta needed a block. It's like, it's better to nerf the damage aspect of this than it is to nerf the sustain, in my opinion. Feels very feast or famine. Well, right, which is, I wouldn't say very feast or famine, but this is why you wouldn't nerf shields, or why you wouldn't nerf the cooldown cycling aspect of Venture, because I think that's like what keeps them flowing nicely and so on. I think you would need to nerf the full I don't know. I think like a weaker ult perk and base kit, and then you can just do a bunch of slaps on the wrists on burst. And because Venture's overperforming, so we can just afford to nerf a few, and then just giving a weaker ult perk in the base kit, and then we can do something else perk-wise. I don't know. The biggest problem with Venture is perks are a problem. I just don't. There isn't a lot of design space because the kit it's like Tracer. It's like, it's not a bad thing. It's not a criticism. It's like the kit is like so tight that there's just very limited space for creativity without like breaking the character. So yeah, if it's just a very cohesive kit, I think just leave as is. Leave as is, some number tweaks. We could brainstorm some perks. I'm fine with Smart Extender. I'm fine with some other stuff, whatever. It's fine. It's not really, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, last hero, right? Thank goodness. I cannot believe this, man. Okay, you guys ready for Widow? Are you guys ready? Timer started. 3, 2, 1. Let's read what Timbo says. Quick scope back from season 1. Yeah, you're actually going to like my suggestions. And one of my first suggestions with Widowmaker is I think they need to nerf her fall off to be probably 40-60 or 45-65 or whatever else. You could probably even nerf her crit multiplier so that she can't one-shot 300 HP targets maybe. But yeah, I think increasing scope speed is absolutely the way to go. I don't know how far, I don't know if I'd go quick scope, but I definitely think nerfing scope speed, force her to engage more, to take more risks. Venom Mine, lower cooldown, much lower damage, maintain wall hacks, faster cast time, maybe less noise. I don't know. Like, I think Venom Mine is not, like, conceptually a terrible ability. Like, a little bit of a DOT. It's a dueling thing. It triggers, it trips, it's cool, gives you wall hacks. It's fine. The problem is it's so freaking loud, so freaking long, and does so much freaking damage. Like, if you could have Venom Mine literally do 50 damage and have, like, an insta-cast, like a 8-second cooldown, super fast, doesn't make as much noise, and it'd just be so much more useful, so much more consistent. And I think what we're... I don't know. I have a lot of problems with Widow as a character design, so we're just trying to make her work with still keeping the main hero fantasy that she has. We're not going to make Widowmaker Sojourn. It's just not possible, but I do think we have to kind of move that direction a little bit. Venom Bomb? No, not like it's the same ability. It just doesn't, it's like a brrr, and then you got to sit there and scope, and it's a 14-second, and does 125 damage or something ridiculous, right? It's probably like 50. It's just, you throw it out fast, it goes, sticks on the wall, and it's a little quieter, a little lower cooldown. I think we have to keep one shot, yeah. Sadly. Listen, listen. On the short list of the characters that need to be deleted from the game. Okay, top 2 probably. No, I didn't say that. But the challenge is we're assuming that this is not going to happen. Mind Sink to be able to send back damage. I mean, you wouldn't even need to have to do that. I mean, it would just be the same detonation as is, same things, literally the same. You could shoot it, you could break it, whatever. Just basically make her a character that moves around. You could do. I really like her perks, what they did with her perks. So, like, the scope shots charge faster after using grapple. If you hit a shot, you can rotate more. You could even say escape plan should be base kit, just to encourage her to move around more. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty simple. Like, ironically, she's such a problematic character, so it's pretty simple. You just have to make her get her hands dirty. You have to allow her to get closer. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I think 225 is still fair for her, but you need to be rewarded with faster scoping. You could do hitbox manipulation with her head if you needed to. Venom Mine needs to be more consistent and more available more often. And that's it. That's it. You could, if it's too strong, then you can do all sorts of stuff with, like, how much damage she does. You could do all sorts of things. genuinely the one shot can 100% go get creative. That's not why we're here. We're not here to be super creative. This is a 5-minute fix, not a complete rework. Can we give charge to a right click and buff for SMG? I think your SMG is probably fine as it is. Maybe you could buff for SMG further. Maybe buff SMG further. Scope shots mark enemies. Maybe. Yeah, sure. For SMG, maybe. Or Venomine marks targets. Anyway, it's Widow. What do you expect? But okay. I don't know how many hours this is going to be post-edit. Apologies for the editor. Please don't hate my guts. There's your 5-minute fix. Tank support, DPS, tank DPS support took a lot longer than 5 minutes for each character, at least beyond the brainstorming stage, the discussion stage, but holy crap. 10-minute fix win? No, no way.